And to see the security team, you know, tell us, we cannot guarantee your safety, we recommend that you don't do this, was a really chilling moment for all of us to kind of have to internalize and experience and realize that Erica Kirk is, you know, her children are one parent away from being orphans. And sometimes you just have to say, listen.
And sometimes you just have to say, well, it's worth risking it. I guess we'll keep her as the chairman of this company.
Yeah, I mean, all the death threats, and especially like, look, it is chilling, but I mean, you got to admit the security team's getting better if they knew to warn her that it wasn't safe this time.
What about
the? It sounds like they're improving.
Did the other 3/4 of the potential crowd also get that same notification, and that's why they didn't show up? Is that what happened?
That's why I didn't go. My security team said, "Don't go. It's not safe."
Right now, what's most important is your safety, is your security, and your children, your family. Let your team handle this. Let us do what we can do. And so, you know, I obviously was horrified at the reason why, but I was honored to stand in and pinch hit for Erica last night. And I was grateful for the vice president to that we didn't have to ultimately cancel the entire event. He was willing to do it with me, and it was very great.
He was willing to get killed. He was willing to take a bullet.
Erica Kirk's more important than J.D. Vance. I mean, we know that already.
More important than J.D. Vance.
They couldn't guarantee her safety. I'm sure the assassin would. Oh, I can't get Erica Kirk. I might as well not go if it's just the vice president of the United States there.
So
what the dude?
and Jimmy Dore.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's show. I'm here with Kurt Mexican, Steph Zambrano, and I'm feeling great. Having some sinus problems. Had to go to the doctor. That's why we had a late start today. Doesn't seem to be a spinal fluid leak.
Oh, that's good. Because that's really serious.
Yeah, that's really serious.
That's not good for you if that happens.
But my spine does keep hurting.
We'll top it off, and
I don't know why I got freaking bone disease that collapsed 3 of my vertebra, and I have a scoliosis from it too. So maybe that's got something to do with it.
Maybe it's from not supporting Israel enough.
Maybe it's not from not loving Israel enough. Hey, guess what? So I'm watching Judge Napolitano. Welcome to the show, Jimmy Dore. You've been so kind and generous with your time.
He's like a nice Patty and Selma from The Simpsons.
So glad you could be here, my good friend. He had on the retired CIA analyst Larry Johnson, and turns out Trump was asking about the nuclear codes. He wanted to use the nuclear codes. You think I'm kidding? Let's listen.
They recognize they've got some problems and got to try to deal with it. And then there was a report out that they had an emergency meeting Saturday night. And apparently, well, one report coming out of that meeting at the White House is that Trump wanted to use the nuclear, so-called use the nuclear codes. And General Dan Kane stood up and said, no. He invoked his privilege as the head of the military, so to speak. It was apparently quite a blow up. There are pictures of Kane coming out of that meeting with his head down to the ground. So, you know, there's some very, very bizarre things going on in D.C.
Well, on Saturday night, excuse me, Larry, Trump.
So, there was a little more to that clip. I don't know what happened to it. But anyway, he goes on to say that Donald Trump is a very sick man. Oh, what does he say? Dangerous man? I know I tweeted it out today. Boy, by the way, when I tweeted out, so you get stuff like this. When I tweeted out that video, you get this guy Cat Turd. Oh, this is a clickbait garbage.
Oh, that impartial source of Cat Turd?
No, I guarantee you, if Trump actually found a way to nuke Iran, he would come out and go, "This is brilliant. 5D chess. Trump knows art of the deal. He knows what he's doing." That's exactly what he would do. So these guys are just they're like weird. They're like, if somebody did a parody account called Cuck Turd, and that's exactly what he is. He's like a cuck to Donald Trump. Like, no matter, Donald Trump could tell him to suck his own dick, and he would.
He's an Israel shill. He's obviously like
it's obviously an Israel shill.
Like a bunch of people. They have a bunch of media. They put all that money into it. Remember?
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
So he's always been that. And that stupid woke thing, that little dialectic they played on us where you hate the left so much you're supposed to be okay with this shit.
Yeah.
They're upset it's not working.
And so people got upset that I just tweeted it out. What I said was, according to retired CIA analyst Larry Johnson, this is what happened. And I put the clip up there. I didn't say I'm saying this. And then these people, F off Dore. This is the kind of, and then people tell me to F off. All I'm doing is reporting what a guy said. I didn't say.
First of all, he called you Sparky. I don't understand why you're damaged goods. Is he talking about your spine problem?
I don't know. Maybe.
But I like, not only are you full of shit, you get off on it. So he is accusing you of coming to this. To, by the way, being wrong about how Trump. There's nothing crazy about Trump, any of his actions. They're actually great. You sound like an idiot. You're damaged goods.
It's crazy.
This is some Israeli shill again. They're all over Twitter.
It is flooded with Israeli shills on Twitter.
And a lot, any influence you see talking.
All I did was tweet out the video and say, this is what the guy said. And people telling me to F off, you're garbage. You're
they're losing.
Like, whoa. What's that?
It's because they're losing. So there's nothing, you're completely full of shit. Any word on which parts are wrong?
Right.
No? Oh, I'm damaged goods? You talking to me the way some old Israeli film producer tries to like force himself on women? You're damaged goods. It's like these awful Guido people that, I don't know, do they not have American employees to try to do this? Because they come off as Israeli.
You know what? Let's just go to my Twitter feed just to show you how crazy it's getting there. But by the way, I don't want to gloss over the bigger point that Trump was asking the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that General Kane. By the way, they brought on that guy. They gave him a 4th star. They came out of retirement because they thought he was going to be extra offensive minded, which he actually has been. Mm-hmm. But he's not going to do this.
He just didn't want to nuke Israel.
He's like, no, he's not going to nuke Iran. And we already showed you if they do nuke Iran, the radiation will drift over into the Gulf states. You know, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, right. Oman, United Arab Emirates.
Even possibly some of Greater Israel.
Even possibly some of Greater Israel. So this would be, it's just nuts.
Look, there's a reason India and Pakistan, who both have nukes, instead of using nukes, have to do that thing where they dance on the border of Kashmir because they can't use those nukes. So they have to have a dance off. That's all I'm saying we should have here.
And let me just say, if Donald Trump actually if he fires this guy Kane and gets somebody in there who's going to go nuke, that will almost guarantee that Russia will use a nuke against us.
Well, please do Israel before us. I mean, I feel like,
but that will, because there's people inside Russia pushing Russia to use a preemptive nuke on. Europe has lost its mind. They want war with Russia for absolutely no reason.
Well, because that coalition of these lizard scumbags has lost their hegemony. When they say multipolar, that means more than one lizard person ruling.
That's right.
And so you could see that they didn't bother to tell you what their secret national lines are and shit. You just get the bullshit story. And then they're like apoplectic over shit you don't understand because they didn't bother to tell you what their real goal is.
So I heard someone else actually confirmed that has a source inside the White House, and I'm told that source is General Kane, and that what Trump did was he asked him, "Hey, how do those nuclear codes work? If we wanted it?" And he's like, "I'm not get out of here." And because you're only supposed to be able to use the nuclear football code in a defensive posture. You can't use it offensively. So, like, if someone nukes us,
right,
then you can nuke, but you're not. That's against the whole thing.
We don't want to use up Israel's nukes. They need to save theirs for a rainy day, I guess.
That's right.
Don't even use your own nukes, Israel. Good call.
So here I'll show you the I'll show you what people are how crazy it has gotten on Twitter. It's just flooded with pro-Israel bots.
Yeah. They're not very good at it. That's why they're easy to see through, and they always do the same thing where they go, somebody told me I was getting bipolar again or something. I go, what do you mean again?
You can't be this gullible trusting the word of a spook. I just said I reported it, which is clear in the... I reported he said it. So here's
what about Israeli ones that told us to invade Iran?
Right, how about that? How about them? I said, according to retired CIA analyst Larry Johnson, during an emergency meeting on Saturday, Trump tried to use the nuclear codes on Iran, and he was stopped by General Dan Kane. According to Johnson, there is seriously something wrong with Trump. So that's the part of the video I missed.
Well, thank God he's not actually in charge, right?
Yeah, thank God. So, and then people, of course, you got all these people. You can't be this gullible trusting the word. Did I say all I said is I reported what he said, which is clear in the video.
Rose for president. Come on, you're twisting. Twisting your words.
Jimmy is full of shit. I said, are you saying Johnson doesn't say that in the clip? That's what I reported. Did you watch the clip? You're commenting. All I just said was he said this.
Yeah, well, I don't think those are real people.
Yeah, I don't think these are real people. This is pretty funny. Somebody put that up there. So Larry Johnson retired from the CIA for 37 years. Oh, exactly. So it's just crazy.
Your BS meter that told you Israel had nothing to do with Charlie Kirk, that one, go fuck yourself. But these are fake. They're all fake. I'm telling you, they have bots within bots. Remember all the AI slave bots where you're like, I want you to go do a harassment campaign on anyone who mentions this or that, right? Those are things that have they've been around for a while, and all those tech companies like your Palantirs and your Larry Oracles, they all do this, and they're all hardy Zionists. So that's what's going on. That's why it's on Twitter.
And it's just, and there's very few likes. The cuck turd guy got a bunch of likes, but most people don't like this guy. If he's a retired CIA analyst, how that holy F does he have access to that kind of, because he has contact. That's how all reporting works. You have sources and contacts and people who want to leak things.
Yeah, that's not a sincere thing.
That's how,
that is a thing. That's
how do you
bullshit.
not understand how things work? No, they don't.
Yeah, well, because a bot doesn't understand how things work. Eric, analyst 5442231.
A big thing going around now is that, like, if you question, like I said, Donald Trump has reached his end of escalation, right? That's another thing that's for real. Because if he escalates on Iran, which it looks like he's going to start this war again on Wednesday, we're going to talk about it with Professor Jiang. It looks like he's going to start bombing them again. But if they go after, like, say, Iran's infrastructure that are not military targets, because they hit all the military targets already, right? All the military bridges, all the military... But
that girls' school.
So if they go after stuff that's just civilian, Iran is going to wipe out, most likely, the Gulf states. And how do they do that? They take out their power, which takes out their desalination plants.
Better than a nuke.
And then they don't have water, and they don't have power, and they're in the middle of the desert, and everybody has to leave. That's what's going to happen.
Quite a surprising turn.
So that's what I'm saying. Trump cannot escalate. So when I said that on Twitter, people are like, oh, I guess podcasters know more than the general does. I guess the podcasters know more than people. Like,
no, they're lying to you, you moron, and you're lying for them because you work for those generals. So no one online is sincere.
I grew up
saying that to
the
you.
whole time, from the time I was a kid until now, the term military intelligence was an oxymoron. That's the joke.
Right.
And that they always lie to you. Yeah. And so that now these people who should you have listened to Dr. Fauci during COVID?
Yes.
Did you listen to the FDA and the CDC during COVID?
Yeah. No high tech.
I guess the podcaster knows more than Dr. Fauci, who's the end of the. Yes. I know when they're lying. I know when they're lying.
It's not knowing more. Dr. Fauci knows what you know, probably better than you know it. He's just lying to you because he hates you. And you know what? He should. What morons? But these are all bots.
I gotta agree. Oh, Kurt's got to go. Okay. Over to Steph.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We had a great time in Las Vegas. Love the Wise Guys. Such a great venue. Thanks to Asa, who runs the club, and Keith, who owns it. Such a great night, and it was so good meeting so many nice people. Hello out there in Las Vegas, our friends. Okay, let's get to it, shall we? You all laugh now, but just wait until you're paying $200 a barrel of KERP. And then we'll see what's funny. Gotcha. Jenna Tills. Thank you, Jenna Tills. I get it. Hey, Vienticus. Everything's a scam. Everything's a lie. Everything's hypocrisy, so I don't comply. Remember that. The code is 1234. Thank you for that one, Tony. Me Lucky Clover, the password is 666. Thank you for the guess. Oh my gosh, Brisby. Hold on, Brisby. Thanks, Jimmy and team, for all you do. Also, KERP. Bam.
Also, KERP.
Thank you, Brisby. Just wanted to shout out Jimmy's talk with Jesse Lee Peterson's on the Fallen State. What a hilarious conversation.
That was pretty funny, the Jesse Lee Peterson one. That was cracking me up, yeah.
He does. You can't help but enjoy him. And it looked like Jimmy had so much fun. Definitely did. Thank you for that.
I want to do Jesse Lee Peterson.
Well,
I can answer his questions really good.
I can't wait.
You got to approach it in the right way. You can't approach it like David Ass Pac-Man did, trying to win the arguments with him. It's like, just have fun with it. What are you doing? And that's what I did.
It's like when I do a Matan Evans thing. People lose their mind on it, but you got to go along with the bit. Did anybody like Jiminy Glick back in the day?
Right? Go along with the bit.
It's so much funnier to go along with it.
Dan says, Steph does the woman reviewing rifles on the channel Rosboro on Export remind you of anyone? Especially her review of the Spectre sniper rifle. Dan, I'll be looking into that, Dan.
Civilians?
Well, my understanding is that the
Okay, go you keep talking.
Well, it's hard to talk. I didn't know if you were doing one of your ringtones or something. Savage. Hello, Savage. Hold on. The irony is that I spent an entire
We
decade.
stand for you.
Did I keep going?
Yes.
Okay, you son of a gun. Do another one. Do another one.
We stand for you.
Can I hear the Jimmy Dore?
Sometimes it doesn't play.
Shut up.
That's not the one I asked for.
Jimmy Dore.
Love it. Hey, the irony is that I spent an entire decade studying modern European history and the causes of both world wars. I was on the Jewish people's side, then genocide happened in Gaza. I still feel scammed. And that's from Savage.
Okay.
Oh, back to Jimmy.
So this is making the rounds. There's a IDF soldier, or do you say IOF? IDF stands for Israeli Defense Force, but the IOF means you're an Israeli occupying force, which is actually more accurate.
Well, I'd like an M for moral in there somewhere, please.
Yeah, I know. So this is making the rounds. So there's an Israeli soldier. He's got the smashing the head of Jesus Christ statue during operations in southern Lebanon. And you know what? In that IDF soldier's defense, he probably didn't know it was Jesus, and he probably just thought he was murdering a Red Cross doctor.
They look so close, you know?
They're so close. So close.
These doctors, they come in, they're hard to tell apart from you-know-who.
So now they got Jesus hanging upside down as they bash his head in. What happened? They weren't able to add the theme music from The Omen?
Is there candy? Is this one of their parties?
Maybe they just didn't want to pay for royalties. Anyway. So here, a local page from the Christian town of Debel mentioned that the statue belongs to them. The page remarked, "Father, forgive them. They know what they do." Whoa.
No, they know not what they do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they switched it.
Completely different meaning.
I know. Yeah, I know that. I thought they had switched it. Okay.
Well, it
Father,
looked
forgive them, for they know not what they do. I think they know what they do.
I think by now, you know, in the first part, in part one, they didn't know what they do.
I mean, it certainly looks like the IDF guy knows what they do. Doesn't
he
it?
took the time to put it upside down first, and then did a picture of it.
These guys know I think the side note was these guys know exactly what they're doing, and they want a reaction.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
By the way, they blew up where Jesus was born. I feel like this is not even in the top 10 of things they've done.
Adam tweets out, a recent image shows an Israeli soldier smashing a statue of Jesus with a sledgehammer. The U.S. ambassador to Israel admitted to Tucker Carlson that Christians face persecution. In sharp contrast, the neighboring Muslim country of Lebanon treats Christians with respect.
That's not what Patrick Bet-Value said. He said the best.
Well, it's called Judeo-Christian values. That's when a bunch of cults pretend to be Christian or Jewish while they act like Satan.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
Here's more. So can someone explain to me why this Israeli soldier reportedly broke off the head of Jesus in Lebanon? And this guy, Max Abrams, who's he says, when you have to rely on obvious AI jobs. So he's running around trying to pretend this was AI, did it all day. He's trying to pretend this is an AI, and not real.
Why would you make an AI of that, of all things?
Well, maybe
like a statue.
Maybe Max is artificial intelligence because he doesn't seem to have any real intelligence.
Well, I think he is. Is intelligence for someone.
So here, Glenn Greenwald says the self-proclaimed Middle East scholar, Israel loyalist Max Abrams, that guy I just showed you, spent the day telling everyone that the photo of the IDF soldier smashing the head of Jesus statue in Lebanon was obvious AI job. Sadly for him, even the IDF was forced to admit that it's real. And here's the IDF, Israel Defense Forces. Following the completion of an initial examination regarding a photograph published earlier today of an IDF soldier harming a Christian symbol, not bashing its head off, but just harming it.
Right.
It was determined that the photograph depicts an IDF soldier operating in southern Lebanon. The IDF views this incident with great severity and emphasizes that the soldier's conduct is wholly inconsistent with the values expected of its troops.
They're allowed to rape Arabs. They're allowed to rape their Arab prisoners.
I know.
But they did this on purpose. They wanted people to be upset, and they wanted to make a display of going, this is not our... Like when the troops couldn't pee on corpses back in the day in Iraq. Remember that?
Yeah, remember that. So this is...
Oh, whoop-de-doo.
This doesn't reflect their values. How is this inconsistent with their values? Why? Because they didn't put on a dead woman's dress and sexually violate the statue? You mean that kind of values?
They didn't go full Johnny Somali on this one, Jimmy.
Here's from the Times of Israel. IDF says image of soldier destroying Jesus statue in Lebanon is real. Vows action.
Oh, what action?
So if you kill a statue, they'll do something. But if you slaughter 40,000 children, it's like that's just part of that's how it goes.
Or you blow up Jesus' birthplace. You can blow that up, and we got past that. And this is the thing. They did this on purpose.
So when they say they vow to take action, I think the action is going to be allowing the soldier to go to Thailand so he can get his ass kicked out of every restaurant he goes to by a bunch of ladyboys. The Israeli Defense Forces confirms the authenticity of the photo showing a soldier in southern Lebanon smashing a statue of Jesus with a sledgehammer and says it will take action against those involved. Following an initial review of the photo, the military says that it was determined that the photograph depicts an IDF's... Okay, the IDF views this... Okay, we already read all that to you.
Yeah.
The incident is being investigated by the Northern Command and is being handled through the chain of command, the IDF says, adding that appropriate measures will be taken against those involved. And okay, I'm sure. You don't even punish people for taking...
Right.
It's part of your thing to do target practice on children. Hey, today we're going to shoot their shoulders. Tomorrow we're going to shoot their stomachs. Tomorrow we're going to take headshots on children.
Well, that's why they're mad, because you're supposed to do it on children and not on statues.
They say this. The Northern Command will also assist the Christian community in restoring the statue to its place. Hey, let me tell you, don't let the group of Israeli art students rebuild the Jesus statue. Why? Because they're going to fill it with explosives and bring it down on the next September 11th. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, which will be any minute now.
Yeah. Bibi Netanyahu condemns the destruction of...
Sure.
He says military authorities are conducting a criminal probe of the matter and will take appropriate They literally... He adds that this is like Tony Soprano saying we're going to look into this guy we saw jaywalking. We are upset about the jaywalking, and we're launching a probe. He adds that Israel is the only place in the Middle East that adheres to freedom of worship for all. Oh, really?
This is because Officer Tatum and Tim Pool said, Bibi, listen, we need something so we don't look like complete cucks, like getting spit on and all that other stuff doesn't look good. So we need something where Israel's like, we're the good ones that are Western democracy.
Well, so they're afraid of losing all the Christians at once. That's what I think it's a little late for that, because it's already happened. And without the Christians, Zionists don't have a marching army to go anywhere and fight for them. That's the problem.
When you don't have those stupid zombie ants that you could infect like a fungus, it turns out.
So here's from Genocide Watch. Christians, Druids, Alawites attacked in Shiraz, Syria. So we got rid of a place that was very safe for Christians, and we installed the chief head chopper from Al-Qaeda, and they're slaughtering Christians all over Syria now.
And there's all kinds of scumbag fake Christian things on YouTube where they talk about how, like, remember, Nigeria is attacking Christians.
Yeah.
Or Muslims are Sharia law is creeping into the U.S. That's a fake Christian thing. It's every single time. It's some kind of operation for Israel.
Israel and Syria agree to U.S. supervised communication cell for military de-escalation. So this guy is working for this guy. Just to let you know, this guy is working for this guy, and he always was.
A couple of tough guys from tough backgrounds.
Yeah. And now he's welcomed at the White House, this guy, and now this guy's welcome at Downing Street by the UK Prime Minister. He's welcome at the White House.
You could probably go in that special new fake ballroom where Bibi balls Trump's wife.
So just to let you know, this is how much Israel practices freedom and respect for each religion. Occupation forces assaulted Christians in the Church of Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem.
Yeah, right.
Knowing that Christian countries are the primary supporters of this terrorist. This is amazing. Think about that. So watch this. Mike Huckabee knows this stuff is happening. Mr. Christian and all those Southern Baptists, or I don't know, the evangelicals, put it that way. I know I want to say Baptists, but the evangelical Zionist Christian preachers, they know this stuff is happening too.
Right.
And they don't care because they're all used car salesmen.
It's all PSYOP and it's all an Intel back thing. And that's what that's what American Christianity has been for like the whole time. Some weird garbage cult controlled by Intel.
So let's watch how they treat the Christians in Jerusalem on Easter Sunday. You want to see how they treat the Christians? They assault them. Easter in Jerusalem, 2026. This is 2026. So you get it. You get it. So you get it. So all this tells us is one thing. They aren't scared of anything anywhere in the world except all the Christians uniting against them at once. Even with that, the way they treat them, they thought they could get away with it because no one's going to do anything. And no one has done anything forever. And you got,
but if they provoke more,
and you got cucks like Mike Huckabee going over there and licking their nuts. How many things that you never thought you would ever see in your lifetime have you seen lately?
All the things.
All the things. So let's watch. Here's the Israelis spend their morning spitting and harassing Christian.
I thought
no
this
kidding.
Was a very goofy movie from back in the day.
They hate Christians. But so that's kind of ironic that Patrick Met Value would say that it was the Catholics who have a problem with the Jews. It's obviously the other way around. And the Jews, the Zionists, have gotten the Muslims who respect and revere Jesus and the Mother Mary. Unlike the Israeli Zionist Jews, they've got the Muslims and the Christians to somehow hate each other and think they're enemies. It's a brilliant trick. They did pull it off, and they pulled it off. They pulled it off.
America really well. Well, it's since the 1800s.
People are afraid of Sharia law and stuff coming to their Christian country.
No idea about Noahide that we already got. They've already arrested somebody for a joke because somebody said
they just arrested. Oh, I wanted to
In
show
Florida?
that. Oh, yeah, I wanted to show that. They arrested a woman from a WhatsApp chat who made a joke about Benjamin Netanyahu
Unbelievable.
bombing their law school.
If
And they
you say that's
arrested
a
her.
threat, yeah,
She's in
if that- yeah.
They didn't just arrest her. She got an orange jumper on. Like
By the
that
way-
kind of arrested.
Isn't that kind of validating the idea that Netanyahu is a terrorist if you arrest her as a threat for
Right? So here they are spitting on Christians. I gotta tell you, the hairstyle is fantastic, though. It doesn't make them look... That is the worst. Maybe you want to update that. What is that?
AI? Nobody has hair like that.
Let me get this straight. The statue was unharmed under Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, and as soon as it was under Israeli control, they destroyed it? And Israelis are telling us Hezbollah is the enemy of Christians, even though they were the ones who saved Christians from ISIS.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Mike Huckabee looks at this and thinks it's what Christ would have wanted.
That's exactly right.
Exactly right.
Well, Huckabee's not a Christian. He's a Noahide slave. He's a golem is what he is, like an automaton.
Okay. All right. If you want to hear my jokes about this, come see me May 7th in Burbank, and then we're going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Spokane, and Tacoma. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over to Steph.
All
Jimmy,
right.
if that soldier fell in battle, I just hope someone recovered his sperm. Brave soldier.
Me too.
You know, when I see those images, I just can't understand. You know, you have all these churches, those harvest churches that are really like embracing Israel. And I grew up in a Baptist
They're paid
church.
for by a billionaire.
Say it again.
They're all paid for by a billionaire who's
Yes.
a Zionist. Oh, all of them.
But I just don't understand the congregation not like going, why are we talking about Israel so much? I never had that experience when I was attending church.
I grew up Catholic.
Really Catholic?
And really Catholic.
Yeah, I heard that.
My uncle was a priest. My other uncle went to the seminary to be a priest. He eventually dropped out, got married. But my grandma and the whole thing. I went to Catholic school.
Every Irish job someone ever had in Chicago.
I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I never heard any Catholic stuff about hating Jews. Never. That's
because
all
of Vatican
made
II
up.
is when they stopped blaming the Jews for. First of all, Jesus came to Earth to die, so it's crazy to be mad that someone.
He was fulfilling
killed you.
prophecy. He had to fulfill it.
But Vatican II is where they declared that the Jews are not the ones responsible. So that's a pre. But if you're trad cath, that's the old kind. You know, like Mel Gibson, and they say no, it is the Jews. So, but that's why you never heard that growing up, because that had already happened.
Oh, okay. All right, over to Steph.
Okay, thank you so much. I did not expect you to come back to me. All right, are you, Jimmy or Kurt, working on a new comedy special?
Yeah.
I'm working on a new comedy special.
They are, yes. The answer is yes. I've listened to all of them, and they're fantastic. Also, can't wait for you to come to Iowa. Love your work. Thank you. You got it there, and that's from Sully. Hold on, Sully. Where is it? Hold on. Bam, Sully. Thank you so much.
We stand for you.
Jimmy, Kerp, and Professor Jiang. There's literally no lineup I'd rather listen to. Steve. Guys. For 10 years, I've been watching the show, and because of that, you've saved me from becoming an unbearable batshit lunatic thanks to cable news and the corporate media in general. Thank you. Well, thank you, Randy. That's very nice of you. Piss Buddha guess it's rain, and this, hey, Kerp, please relay to Joe Rogan that J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel are evil. He said the other day that J.D. Vance is so smart, laugh my ass off. He's joking, right? Piss.
He better say that. Listen, do you guys understand that these people aren't stupid? They're just lying to you because they have no choice, because your government's controlled by a certain aircraft carrier in the Middle East that sometimes blows up our other aircraft carriers?
Mel Gibson did The Passion of the Christ, and look what they did to him. That's Goo 81.
Who's that Supreme Court the Supreme Court justice.
Uh,
That
Gabriella
chick that didn't know.
Go ahead.
She didn't know if women have a pee-pee or a wee-wee, remember? And she, I don't know, I'm not a biologist. They asked her the Ketanji Jackson.
Yes.
And if you recall, all the Democrats thought she was amazing because of that. Because they actually prize finding creative ways not to answer a fucking question. You know? So they're all, it's not that they're dumb, they're all just not on your team. They're on the team of who they're on. And all they got to do is blah, blah, blah at you while they do whatever they're going to do.
All right.
So
come back
to me.
to Jimmy.
So a Florida college student has been arrested, or orange is the new black kind of arrested, for making a joke about Netanyahu on a WhatsApp thread. And according to Adam, he's been warning about this for so long. Actually, it's happening. A Florida college student has been arrested. So you want to hear the news report about it? Here, I'll play you the news report.
It's unfortunate because I'm assuming she's a senior and going to graduate soon, and now this is going to jeopardize her ability to graduate.
A 23-year-old FIU student charged with a felony over messages she wrote in a school group chat. Gabriela Saldana facing a judge Thursday morning. According to her arrest report, this went down in a WhatsApp group chat of about 215 students, where students were discussing an event that was to take place Friday at the Ocean Bank Convocation Center on campus to make their capstone presentations. An FIU police officer read some of the statements in court.
The exact words utilized was, "There's going to be a bomb in the Ocean Bank Convocation Center, and it's going to be at Jonathan's fault," one of the members in the chat.
7 News obtaining some bits of that chat. It seemed the student wanted the event rescheduled and wrote, quote, "Netanyahu, if you can hear me, drop some bonbons for us capstone students in Ocean Bank Convention Center."
So that's an obvious joke. Drop some, but she didn't even say bombs. She said bonbons.
Right, and
which that's a
Netanyahu,
that's a dessert, right? A bonbon.
Yeah, it's
like
ice cream inside chocolate or something.
Yeah,
something
she didn't even use the term bomb. It's an obvious joke. That's how crazy it's gotten. So you got DeSantis as the governor, and you got guys like Randy Fine. By the way, we're going to have Dan Bilzerian on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
Can I tell you what the judge, Mindy Glazer, ruled? That it was probable cause, stating that an objective person would view the messages as a credible threat.
What? Like somehow this girl has the ability to make Benjamin Netanyahu drop bombs on their school. That's the craziest. That is the farthest thing away from objective reality.
Judge Dingbat was saying, Judge Dingbat meant that because she's a dipshit Zionist, she feels nervous when people imply Bibi Netanyahu would bomb someone, and that puts her in danger as a Zionist. You know how they all don't feel safe when you criticize Bibi?
Right, yeah.
I'll bet you in that fucking Dingbat's head, it's stochastic terrorism, the fake kind.
Okay, so let's watch this again. Let's watch.
Quote, "Netanyahu, if you can hear me, drop some bonbons for us capstone students in Ocean Bank Convention Center."
That's it. That's the offending joke.
Other students wrote they didn't take that text lightly. She later in the chat wrote, quote, "I wrote a dumb joke that should not have been made."
I can understand.
She even said it was a joke. Everybody knows.
What did Judge Glazer say again?
How mentally impaired do you have to be to not recognize that that's a joke?
The judge is a Florida Zionist.
Or you have to be a Florida Zionist.
Yeah. Or Randy Fine
Your
kind of
position is,
Zionist.
Corey, and you're saying this is a joke, but to an objective person, it's not a joke.
No, to a Zionist mental case, it's not a joke. To everybody else in the world, it's a joke.
Not to some fucking yenta, which would be the correct word, not to...
okay, why do you got to put the F word in front of that? You got to put it after. Like black, we learned this. Like how black people do. You put you go, oh, some Italian motherfucker, right? You can say that. You can't say some MF in Italian. That is bad. You get I forget who. There's a comedian who has that joke.
Because I meant it bad, but no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, there's who has that joke? I'll think of his name.
Terrorist attack is what I was doing.
Here we go.
I'm not saying it's enough for beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know what the state's going to be able to prove at trial, But for purposes of this hearing, I believe there is enough for probable cause.
You
Should
gotta
have dismissed it.
You gotta
You
be
should have
kidding me.
dismissed it and maybe given her some sort of community service for
gotta
a
be
day.
kidding
That is
me.
There should
baloney.
be no sentence of any kind. The whole thing's a fucking outrage from start to finish. No reasonable person would say that unless they were in stupid fucking Florida.
So power to the people makes a great point here. He says, not a single one of us is free when mocking a foreign leader or a government that is committing genocide can land you in jail. And
China
this is
doesn't
what
put us in
Trump
jail.
wants. Trump wants this. Trump is pushing this kind of stuff on college campuses, and here it is. And by the way, when I do these jokes about Trump doing this, when I was just in Las Vegas, I was just in Salt Lake City. Can't get much more conservative than Salt Lake City. People go crazy. They hate the fact that Trump is doing this, and they hate Trump for doing it, and they realize that he's a con man, and everybody got conned because he did it. His first administration, his first term, he didn't start any new wars, so it gave him credibility. And then that he knew he could do that and use that to con people, and man, did it work.
And then he had that fake assassination consecration as a servant of Israel ceremony.
He definitely had that fake. That's right.
He's a manservant.
This is I'll stop believing it's the Jews when people can say it's the Jews in public without having their lives destroyed by powerful Jews. Whoa.
Well, Nick Fuentes is still around. He says the Jews.
He's still around.
It's not the Jews.
So does that mean he's working for them secretly, Kurt, to discredit
it
the
means
right?
you're a jerk off if you're saying that. I mean, first of all, if you're smart enough to know what the problem is, because most people don't know anything. They're not even going to know about this story at all, by the way.
Right.
But if you're smart enough to know about it and you keep saying the Jews, you're smart enough to know how you're not helping. You're smart enough to know that that's not helping. And that's what the fucking Zionists do. You know, it's all Zionists and Nazis have the same plan.
Kurt, you're not. That's antiseptic to say that. You know that. Mindy,
it's anti-satanic to say it.
So Mindy Glazer, that's the judge.
Mm-hmm.
She's known for her 1991 start in law and election to the bench in 2000. She is a respected figure within the Florida legal community and has been honored by the Miami Jewish Legal Society. Of course she has.
So if I sent her a box of bonbons, do you think I'd get in trouble?
I think you'd get in trouble.
I think you would. If you
you'd get arrested.
If you were in the country of Florida.
And Trump would cheer it on for you to be arrested.
Well, you could reasonably say this is a threat. That's because she talked about Bibi, this Likud fucking Yenta. That's exactly why.
I like this. America in 2030 getting executed for refusing to support Israel.
Oh, that's coming.
It's coming.
All those TPUSA fake Christians talk about this. The Seven Mountains Mandate, Dominionism. You might have heard of it.
No. I actually have heard of it. The Seven Mountains thing, yes.
Yeah, that means God wants us to dominate every part of society. The thing that, what's his name, was warning about banning until they were at the island together.
Look at this guy. She called to bomb her school. It wasn't a Netanyahu joke. It was...
I'm sorry. Well, wait, hold on. Cyber Boy, was there a chance that Netanyahu would bomb her school?
Because she asked him to?
I do have to take it seriously because he's a psycho.
So she called to bomb. So did she call Netanyahu? Did she make a joke in a WhatsApp chat? How would Netanyahu even find out about that WhatsApp chat? Oh, of course, that's right, Mossad.
Why does woke people want to crack down on comedy? Boy, remember when the wokies were the worst threat to making any kind of joke?
Remember when it was the wokies?
The good old days? That's why woke ain't coming back after what you fuckers did. Like, don't ever tell me about woke ever again. Anybody who's talking about wokeness still, I mean, are you well, I don't want to get in woke trouble, but are you retarded?
Imagine prison for this for the sarcasm. Going to prison for, and those who actually can't sleep without bombing women and children get standing ovation in the Senate. That's a great point also.
The world shouldn't end literally. The people into this should end, and everybody should stop supporting it. You don't have to do a strike from going to work, because I think that's a bit ambitious, but you could strive to not lie anymore ever and call out if someone's saying a thing that's not true and know what's going on. You could do that. Everybody could just stop lying. That would probably about 80% of it right there.
I like this. Some random student asking Netanyahu to bomb an event so they don't have to attend it is obviously a joke and not an actionable threat. And then the court acting like this is anything but a joke is brain dead. What influence would she have over Benjamin Netanyahu? That's like if I called aliens to explode someone's balls on the street. Bro, it's not happening.
That's right. That's not why that judge did that. That dippy Yenta judge is nervous because equating Netanyahu with a terrorist is a form of terrorism against stupid fucking mind-controlled Zionists. So that's what the punishment is for bringing Netanyahu's sacred Likud name into it. Not because she thinks Netanyahu would do it. He's a good man.
That's right.
But now people are going to be anti-Israel, and that harms Israel, which is more important than America, and this judge is a treasonous sack of shit.
Wow.
You know, and I just have to go to the point of when Jeffrey Epstein was in Florida, they imprisoned him, but he could go out and live his life during the day. And wasn't Pam Bondi around during that time in Florida as well? But this poor girl made a joke. I can't even believe it.
All I have to say is...
we stand for you.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a break, and we're going to come back with Professor Jiang in just a few minutes, right? Okay.
Cool.
All right.
I'll see you guys later.
All right, see you. Hey, Maria Morero was born in 1907. When horses still shared the streets with cars, she lived through 2 world wars, the Spanish Civil War, and the rise of the internet. When she passed away in August of 2024 at 117 years old, she was the world's oldest person. After her death, researchers examined something remarkable. Her gut microbiome was remarkably diverse in beneficial bacteria. When scientists studied other similar people, they found similar patterns, greater microbial diversity and stronger gut balance, traits linked to immune health, heart health, and even brain health. Your gut microbiome isn't just about digestion. It reflects how well your body adapts and functions over time. When your gut stays diverse and supported, you gain strength instead of losing it as the years add up. That's why Maria's story matters. Longevity isn't one miracle solution. It's about daily habits that nourish your internal environment. Consuming kimchi is the strongest and simplest way to help replenish beneficial bacteria and maintain microbial balance. That's why Brightcore created Kimchi One, delivering the benefits of fermented kimchi in a convenient capsule form to help restore your gut's natural balance every day. Today, you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link below for 25% off your entire order. For an even better deal, call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-253-0418. Hey, we have our special guest back with us, Professor Jiang, Beijing-based educator, writer, and advocate for education reform, known for his work in promoting creativity, critical thinking, and global citizenship in Chinese schools. He gained international attention in 24 for his viral predictions about geopolitics, foreseeing Donald Trump's return to power, U.S.-Iran conflict, and U.S. losing that war based on historical patterns and game theory. Welcome back to the show, Professor Jiang. Good to see you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for inviting me back.
Now, the first thing I wanted to bring up, this happened, so I don't know if you're up on this, but the United States has attacked a ship, right? So they're going to block the Strait of Hormuz. And here, let me just play. This is what Scott Ritter, this is his assessment of what happened, and I'll get your response. Hang on.
Civilians?
Well, my understanding is that there was an Iranian cargo ship that was making transit out of the Strait of Hormuz into the Gulf there, and in accordance with the agreement that was reached between the United States and Iran in Islamabad about the ceasefire, and an illegal American blockade that has no legitimacy under international law and is a complete violation of the ceasefire agreement, demanded that the ship stop. The ship didn't. Then the United States, the U.S. Navy vessel destroyer, told the ship to evacuate the engine room. Then they fired on the engine room, causing the ship to come to a halt. Then the U.S. Marine raiding group was landed on the vessel and took control of the vessel. It is an act of piracy. There's no legitimacy for this action whatsoever.
Wow. What would be the goal of something like this? Why would Trump and Hegseth even order this?
It's pure psychological operation. This is about the United States spinning the events so that the president can claim that he has the upper hand, that, if, for instance, Iran were to go to Islamabad and agree to a deal, the president would say it's only because of the strong stance that he's taken in enforcing this blockade and compelling the Iranians to, see the common sense and coming to an agreement. That's all this is. It has nothing to do with, legitimately stopping flow. Even let's just acknowledge that this is an illegal act, like much of what the United States does. But the goal is to effectively halt shipping out of the Strait of Hormuz by the Iranians, and this most certainly is not doing that. So it's just pure theater of the absurd.
So what is your response to the act and his assessment?
Yeah, I completely agree. So a naval blockade is considered an act of war, and so it breaks the spirit of the ceasefire. That's point number one. Point number two is that I think Scott Ritter is right in that Trump is trying to negotiate from a position of strength. But I think the more obvious explanation is that Trump and Hegseth are not serious about peace at all. Even though there is a ceasefire, we're seeing a massive military buildup in the Middle East. When the George H.W. Bush arrives in theater, possibly by Friday, the Americans will have about 60,000 troops ready to go for a massive invasion of Iran, which is what a lot of people expect to happen. So this ceasefire, it's pure theater. It's just a pretext to build up forces in the Middle East.
And so Trump, I announced today that on Wednesday the ceasefire will end. So that means he's going to start bombing again. They're going to start. What do you see happening on Wednesday?
So the ceasefire does expire on Wednesday. That doesn't necessarily mean that the bombing will start right away. Because remember, the Americans need to get forces in position. They need to stage the forces. And so it's possible that on Wednesday, Trump announces another 2-week ceasefire. And he doesn't really care what the Iranians say because they need time to prepare for the strike. So the Americans use something called shock and awe. So they want to go in, destroy as much as they can, and then leave with minimal civilian casualties. So they are looking to strike as hard as possible when the time is appropriate.
So let me just play you one more clip from Scott Ritter saying that if the United States does attack again, because they're stuck in the United States, Trump cannot escalate anymore without having severe consequences rain down upon the Gulf states, right? And so if Trump, it looks like does it look like to you they're getting ready for a ground invasion? They've got, 50, 60,000 troops there now? What do you think they're getting ready to do?
So from a military perspective, if the wars escalate, Then the Americans in round two will use a three-prong approach, okay? So the first approach will be to try to economically strangle Iran. So the naval blockade will be part of that, but the Americans will also try to siege Kharg Island. They will try to seize the Iranian coastline. And so what the Americans are trying to do is dislodge Iran from the Strait of Hormuz. Because right now the Iranians can collect tolls off the Strait of Hormuz. They can export oil from Kharg Island. And so the Americans want to blockade and contain Iran. That's the first pillar. The second pillar is to stir up ethnic tensions in Iran. And the way you do that is you establish foreign operating bases in ethnic regions like Balochistan and the Kurdish region. And then you encourage and you arm ethnic insurgents against the government in Iran. And the third thing, which I think will be the most effective, is you will start to suffocate Tehran, the capital. You do that by limiting their capacity to access food, water, and electricity. You basically bomb power plants, you bomb reservoirs, and you bomb railways. And so you force the population into submission. And if you do these three strategies, the theory is that you will force Iran into a political settlement.
And what kind of settlement do they want? I mean, it seems. What do you? What has Trump even said? What he wants? He said he wanted complete victory or a complete surrender. But what does that mean?
What it means is that the Americans can impose terms. So what this means is that the Iranians will have to surrender their uranium, all of their uranium. They will have to surrender their ballistic weapons program. They will have to abandon the proxies, and they will have to install the Shah as their new leader, American puppet. So those are the four conditions for surrender.
Oh, that really? Oh, okay. And what do you think the likelihood of that is?
0%.
Zero, right? Yeah, that seems crazy. So it seems like for real, they're going to again try to resume the war. That Donald Trump and the United States is going to resume the war either on Wednesday or after another phony ceasefire, giving them time to. I mean, Iran sees what they're doing. They see that they know what's coming. And so here's what Scott Ritter had to say will happen once the United States starts the war again. And I want to get your reaction to it.
Well, the Iranians have made it clear that they're not going to, start slow and finish fast. They're not going to wait for the United States and Israel to set the pace, which is what they did in the 40 days. The escalation, the nature of targets, et cetera, that were engaged by Iran were largely defined by the nature of the Israeli-American strikes against Iran. Here, the Iranians, I believe, will start with the notion that because the United States is incapable of negotiating in good faith, that you must assume that any military action that's now taken is done to eliminate the regime of the Islamic Republic, and therefore this is an existential war. Therefore, just go for the jugular from the start. And I think this is what you're going to see if we start attacking Iran. I think you're going to see Iran hit some Gulf Arab states harder than they've ever been hit. Hit Israel very hard. Start taking out key infrastructure, and maybe reach out and touch the United States in a few places as well. That the United States has grown overconfident in terms of operation. But, this is going to be a one-way street. When the war starts, we will be bombing empty buildings. We will be blowing up bridges and railroad tracks that have no fundamental value from a military standpoint. And Iran is going to be, striking back with absolute devastation. And the defeat will be obvious after the first 3 days when, as I said, perhaps Abu Dhabi, Dubai, maybe another city will be unable to sustain life on the scope and scale necessary to be to retain the stature that they enjoy today. People will be forced to flee by the hundreds of thousands.
So do you agree with that assessment? That's what we've been saying here all along, that if Trump escalates or resumes this war, that they have the ability to knock out the Gulf states' desalination plants, and then that's game over for them. What do you say?
I completely agree. So the most obvious thing that the Iranians can do is close off the Red Sea, and then they can strike at Gulf energy infrastructure. They can destroy the pipelines. This will knock out 1/3 of the world's energy supply. This would completely destroy the Gulf states. They were no longer viable But the problem is that the Americans have made a calculation that this is an acceptable cost, that they are willing to take the risk. And the reason why is that in January, the Trump White House announced something called the National Security Strategy. And so this is the Pentagon strategy moving forward for the next 5 to 10 years. And that's 4 major pillars that help us explain why the war is progressing the way it is in the Middle East. The first major pillar is to secure the Western Hemisphere, the American home front. The second pillar is to contain China. The third pillar is to make better use of American allies, to basically encourage them to participate more in global defense. The fourth pillar is to ramp up America's wartime industrial production. Okay, and we're already seeing these 4 pillars play out. So from an American perspective, the goal is to create Greater North America, something called a Technate, Fortress America, and then this will become a self-sufficient perimeter that allows America to sell resources, weapons, and financing to the rest of the world. And what America will do is create balance of power in each different region. So in East Asia, Japan and China will balance each other out, and they will both become dependent on American armaments, American resources, and American financing. Something will happen in Europe where Russia and Europe, NATO, will balance each other out, and both will become dependent again on America. And in East Asia, in West Asia, it will be the Gulf states and Israel versus Iran. And this is what's laid out in national security strategy. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is the strategy being played out in real time.
So why would China, Japan, Russia, what's their move? I can't see them just letting this happen. Can you?
Right. So there's only one actual response to America's national security strategy, and it is for Russia, Iran, and China to work together to create a continental trade bloc that can then absorb Africa, the Middle East, and Europe and East Asia, and sort of negate American naval power. And that's why this war in Iran is happening, because Iran is really the pivot. It is where Russia's north-south trade corridor runs through. It is where Europe's IMAC corridor runs through. It is where China's Belt and Road Initiative runs through. So if you can create chaos in Iran, the world is no longer able to trade in Eurasia. It's completely dependent on sea for trade, and it needs energy, right? So basically, what America is trying to do is create as much chaos around the world as possible so that the nations are dependent on American energy.
And again, so what do you think? I mean, Russia is very oil rich, and they what do you think? What will they do? I mean, they'll. So tell me. I mean, I'm like in materially, what will they do?
Right. So what's happening right now is that the Americans are imposing a naval blockade on all ocean trade. Right. So we're seeing, as you mentioned, this Iranian ship returning from China being boarded, being like seized and kidnapped by the Americans. We're also seeing Russian shuttle fleet tankers being boarded by the Americans as well. We're also seeing this past month oil refineries fires all around the world. So the most famous case was in Geelong, Australia, where a refinery was suspiciously and accidentally on fire, destroying Australia's access to jet fuel. We're also seeing fires in Bucharest, Romania, in India, in Myanmar. We're also seeing the Ukrainians start to strike Russian energy infrastructure. So what's happening right now is basically a war over energy resources between Russia and America. And we will see this war expand over the next few years as Russia challenges American dominance in the seas and as both continue to destroy each other's energy resources.
So this is really going to be World War III, and it's going to be for a while. So it's very popular to say that the United States did this war because Donald Trump is controlled by Benjamin Netanyahu, the Zionists, and Israel. But the way I hear you explaining it now, it seems like some kind of bigger, long game that the United States is playing for. We've talked about the Greater North American Project here, and
Yes.
was that just kind of a diversion that to blame it on Israel, or is that real, or has the establishment been planning this all along, and Donald Trump is just their tool?
So first point is that if you don't believe anything I say, then go to the Pentagon website, the Department of War website, and download the National Security Strategy. It is in black and white. It tells you exactly what the plan is. It is to contain China. It is to control the Western Hemisphere, something called the Donald Doctrine, and it is to cannibalize America's allies. Okay, it's very black and white in that paper. That's the first point. Second point is that Trump doesn't have the power to do whatever he wants. I mean, he is really the agent or the puppet or the scapegoat for the military-industrial complex. And the third point I will make is that if you just look at history, when empires decline, they behave in this manner where the empire, at its height, it relies on consent. It relies on soft power. When it declines and its allies turn away from the empire, what the empire does is use force, use piracy, use pure power. Might becomes right. So what America is doing right now fits into the classical imperial decline pattern.
Yeah. So, okay. And so, I mean, you said that the United States was going to lose this war or get stuck in a quagmire. Do you see this working out? Where do you see this heading in the next 3 to 6 months?
Right. So again, if you just look at history, these things never work out because there are 3 problems with this plan. It sounds great on paper, right? Where America controls the Western Hemisphere. It has all the resources of the world. It's self-sufficient. The rest of the world is at war and needs to buy American weapons and resources. But if you look at history, it doesn't really work out for 3 reasons. The first major reason is corruption. Okay, so America right now is a very corrupt system. And we know because whenever Trump makes an announcement, someone with impeccable timing is able to short the market and make hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So when Trump announced a ceasefire, then someone buys shorts and makes a lot of money off of the oil market. So this has been happening a lot. But really, the problem in America is the financialization of the system. And so people make their money not making things, but on speculation. And this is a pretty common theme in American political system right now. So, Trump has announced $1.5 trillion for the Pentagon. And you said this on your show, but most of this money is going to go into corruption. It's going to be stolen. It won't actually go into weapons production. So that's the first problem, the corruption. Second problem is political polarization. So when empires are in decline, they usually split up into different factions that fight each other. They really don't care about the consequences for America's position in the world stage. All they are concerned about are domestic politics. So even though America's at war in Iran, the Democrats continue to snipe at Trump. And Trump continues to snipe at Democrats. So Trump is much more concerned about the Democrats than he is about winning this war in Iran. So political polarization is a huge problem in America, and it could possibly lead to a civil war. That's the second problem. And the third problem is nationalism. When you bully nations, like what America is doing right now to the Europeans, right? So Trump says that he's going to take over Greenland, which has really annoyed the Europeans. He's discussed taking over Mexico, Canada. So what this does is that it galvanizes the people and makes them much more nationalistic. And we can see this, and we'll see this happen over the next few years as the Americans demand more of the South Koreans, of the Japanese, and this will make them much more nationalistic, much more anti-American. Same thing will happen in Europe as well. So these 3 factors, corruption, division, and nationalism, ultimately means that the empire will die at the end of the day.
Do you have a timeline on that? So I was before this Iranian war, I was just worried about the world stop using the dollar as the reserve currency. That was my big worry. And I was just worried about how quickly that was going to happen, which is why we've talked so much about investing in gold and stuff on this show, because when the rest of the world stops using the dollar, that it's horrible for the United States, I mean, and us and our retirement savings and everything, which is tied up in dollars. So you're talking about what is the end of the so you keep saying this isn't going to work out, right? You've already delineated the problems with this working. It sounds like a great idea. I hear people say it, talk about it, but it's not going to work. So where do you see the United States in, say, like 5 years?
Sure. So there's actually a 3-stage process when empires decline. Okay, so in the first stage, the empire lashes out and forces it kind of vassalizes its allies. Okay, and in the first stage, things look great. The U.S. dollar soars. The American economy soars because the world is dependent on LNG from the United States. The reality is that it's possible that Trump goes to China in mid-May and they sign a deal in which China is buying more LNG from America, in which case Trump's going to look like a political genius, right? Because he's attacking Iran, he's managed to humble China. So in the short term, things look great for the empire because the world is completely dependent on American resources, especially energy, LNG. So that's the first stage. But in the second stage...
Well, can I stop you there?
Sure.
The problem is that plays right into the way American businessmen and our economy thinks. We think in short-term quarterly profits. We don't build for the long term. And so Trump probably doesn't care. He'll look, it'll make the next the last 2 years of my presidency look like a victory. And I exit, I'm 82 years old as a victor, right? That's right.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly the problem. He's only thinking for the next 2-3 years, which are going to be great for America. But then afterwards, what happens? What happens is that you are over leveraged. Your empire is overextended. You're forced to call up a national draft in order to supply the cannon fodder for your empire. Your economy is overheated. It becomes a huge Ponzi scheme. And slowly, the rest of the world recognizes that we need to unite against America if we are to survive. In the third stage, the world goes to war against America on multiple fronts: the economic front, the diplomatic front, the military front. And then America recognizes that it cannot actually sustain its empire, and its empire declines and dies.
And so that when the empire dies, that means for sure civil war, right? In the United States?
Exactly. For sure. Exactly.
And then we'd have to create a new government, create a new constitution, and all that stuff, right? Well, we started from scratch. Is that how it works?
So if you just look at America as an empire, it is most equivalent to Rome. And when Rome started its civil war process, it never really stopped its civil wars. I mean, you might have an emperor emerge and create a 20-year peace, but then when he dies, the civil war starts again. And so the reason why America may fall into a civil war trap, where it is continuous civil war, is that America has no peer competitor in the Western Hemisphere. And as a result, all the conflicts are internal, not external, right? So an empire, when it falls, it fights civil wars, but when it's threatened by an external enemy, it unifies against its foe. But America doesn't have a foe. It doesn't have a competitor. So America could actually descend into hundreds of years of civil war.
And so, okay, so your prediction is that in the next few years, this will look like a brilliant plan to certain people, yes, because the dollar will soar and China's going to be buying more of our liquid gas. And but how soon does that end? And it starts to go the other way.
Right. So I think it's entirely possible that if Trump pulls this off and he succeeds, he might get a third term. And so I think, for the next 2 to 3 years, this plan will look really, really strategic and genius. But again, this is how all empires behave when they decline. So this is a natural process.
So you say we're not going to break off into civil war and fragmentation for at least 5 years? 10?
Right, yeah. So I think the civil war, the process begins if Trump gets his third term, right? So I say a Trump third term because if you want to carry this plan out to fruition, you need a pretty stable continuity of agenda, right? So it's entirely possible that if Trump leaves office in 2028, the Democrats come to power and they change this plan, which would create complete chaos. So you need a continuous agenda. You need basically a monarch in place in order to implement the strategy. And if that were the case, this would create a constitutional crisis, and this would be the basis for a civil war.
So if you see this coming, so clearly, and history says this is what's coming, the people in Europe must know it's coming, but why do you think they're not reacting in the way a rational government would react knowing this is coming? They seem to be almost, in a sense, going along with Trump. They're now doubling down on their war with Russia for who knows why. What's Europe's role in all this, and why are they doing it like they're doing?
Right. So another characteristic of an empire in decline is the over-bureaucratization of society. And what this leads to...
The over what?
The over-bureaucratization. Sorry, the bureaucratization of society, the bureaucracy, right? You create an imperial bureaucracy.
Bureaucratization? Is that what you're saying?
Sorry.
Okay.
You create an imperial bureaucracy that becomes a bubble onto itself, right? So if you go to Washington, D.C., I'm sure you've been to Washington, D.C.,
yes.
It's a bubble, right? It's the richest place in the world. They could care less about what happens in the rest of America and in the rest of the world. Same thing in Europe, where you have an imperial bureaucracy in Brussels, and everyone in the bureaucracy is much more concerned about maintaining his or her...
Oh, we lost him. There he comes back. Okay, we're
sorry.
No problem. Okay.
Yeah, right. So people in Brussels just care about collecting their paycheck, collecting their pension, and they want to just keep their jobs, and so they're going to go with the flow. And they become completely divorced from reality, right? That's why you've seen in these past 10 years this massive surge of immigration into Europe, even though Europe itself cannot sustain this immigration. And the response to criticism is to silence critics, right? So in Europe, if you're a criminal, you're much less likely to get visited by the police than if you criticize the rise of crime on social media, right? So if you make a criticism on social media, you're much more likely to get visited by the police than if you actually commit a real crime. So Europe is, I think, it's basically become a dumpster fire. It's a much more advanced stage of decline than America.
So basically, just people looking out for, again, short-term thinking, people looking out for their own self-interest, not their country's interests, not the long-term interests. And so is it the strength of the international military industrial complex that they get more, and they're doubling down on the war in Ukraine, they're doubling down on, is that just what it is? And
yes.
Okay, and
yeah.
So
because Julian Assange said it best. The point is not to have successful wars. The point is to have never-ending wars. Because what wars do is they transfer taxpayer money into the pockets of a transnational elite, and that's the point of war today. It's not to win wars; it's to have wars.
It's just. I mean, I still can't. I'm I'm kind of shocked, right, that there isn't some, there's no sober voices inside the United, there's like maybe Thomas Massey, maybe Rand Paul, but there's no like group of people that it's all just, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because I've been saying it for years now, that the United States is not just a little corrupt, like Joe Biden gives his kid a no-show job and Trump gives his kid a deal with Saudi Arabia, but it's 100% corrupt. Like they're all corrupt. No, when they get a session of Congress, they're not there doing the bidding. I've said this a million times. They're not doing the bidding of students or workers or the elderly or trying to fix the infra. They're there just doing the bidding. How can we extract wealth from the taxpayers and put it into the pockets of the people you just described, the WEF international elite, the globalists, and that's what. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised, right? I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. So another issue that people don't really discuss is the aging problem in America, where the leadership in Washington, D.C. have aged a great deal, right? The baby boomers are still in control. Think of how many presidents were baby boomers, right? You had Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Obama, Biden. I mean, like Trump. I mean, the baby boomers have been in command for a long, long time. What we know is that when a population ages, the elite, they become much more authoritarian, right? So if you're an old person, you're in your 80s, what you care about is living for as long as possible. You care a lot about germs. You care about keeping the streets clean, and so you basically want a more authoritarian society, and that's why I think a lot of young people today are so pessimistic about the future.
Do you put any credence? So there's a lot of theories out there that COVID was a depopulation agenda because the international bankers and the WEF types, they realized that they can't sustain the aging populations, and so they did this vax, which has it's completely toxic, and it has negative efficacy, and they had to rig all the numbers in the systems. Like, for instance, if you died within 14 days of getting your vax, they considered you unvaccinated, even though there could be a correlation between you dying from the vax. So they had to do all that. So do you put any credence into that theory that there is this kind of, because it was a global phenomena, that it wasn't just the United States, it was everywhere except for maybe Africa. So do you think that there's any credence to that idea that the people in control, really the handful of billionaires that run the world, really did want a depopulation agenda?
If that were their plan, I'd be very impressed. I don't think they're that smart, and I don't think they're that strategic. I think that COVID happened because the baby boomers are really afraid of germs. And that's why you had these global lockdowns, because the baby boomers insisted on everyone staying at home. So the nation that best responded to COVID was Sweden, because the epidemiologists in Sweden said that you can't stop a virus; it's impossible. So we're not going to disrupt the economy. We're not going to disrupt schooling, but we will protect our vulnerable people, which includes people with diseases, which includes the elderly population.
Which is basically the Barrington Declaration.
Basically. And it worked very well for Sweden. Their economy was not as impacted as the rest of the world. But having gone away with COVID, with the COVID lockdowns, we can expect that the elite will use this strategy again if a crisis were to emerge, right? So they're not strategic, but they're opportunistic. They don't think ahead, but they see the benefits of certain strategies. So if this war were to continue, we can imagine lockdowns because of the energy crisis.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. So that's why they'll be able to, people have already talked about it, that there's going to be energy lockdowns and that they're going to have surveillance, and they're going to let you know how much energy you're allowed to use. And once you exceed that, they're going to cut you off. They're going to stop your car. They're going to stop all that kind of. And do you see that happening?
Yes, it's all part of the plan, right? The 10-8 calls for a technocracy. What is technocracy? A government ruled by AI. That's why America's building all these data centers, even though they cost a lot of money. They don't really actually turn any profit, right? So if you are a company like OpenAI, like the more subscribers you have, the more money you lose, because it actually costs you more money to have subscribers than you can generate profit for them. But you have Operation Stargate in place, $500 billion to build data centers all across America. So why would they do that? And the answer is the technocracy. The answer is if you're moving towards an empire, you need to create an AI surveillance state, digital currency, digital ID, and it helps you do a national draft, it helps you control the people, it helps you ration energy and food.
And so how there do you see a way to turn this around, or is this already, this is in the cards because history dictates and they've, is there I mean, could there be a charismatic leader who turns this around for the United, but they would just kill him, right?
Yeah, so I don't think this plan will work out because the empire is in decline. They're desperate, right? So they want a national draft. They want a AI control grid. This is all part of their plan. But the people in charge aren't that bright, and they're not that effective. And I think this is all going to blow up in their face because I think the American people are much more resilient, much more creative than they believe. It's worked out in China. If you come to China, I'll show you around. We have AI surveillance. We have AI digital currency and digital ID, and it's worked out well in China. But the Chinese people are a different breed. The American people love freedom. They love liberty, and I think that the Americans would rather fight than surrender their liberty.
And so now I'm hearing you say another, like, so there is a chance that the American people, because we do value our freedom, although you couldn't tell, half the country certainly didn't during COVID. They were willing to accept every single restriction on their freedom, and including fascist Nazi-like impositions of forcing people to take experimental medical treatments. So you think that the answer to this lies in the mass of people coming together?
So yeah, the COVID lockdowns were bad in America, but they were nowhere near as bad as that in China or Canada, right? In Canada, there were the trucker protests, and these were just people who wanted a meeting with Justin Trudeau because they had questions about the vaccine mandate, and instead they were debanked. If you actually gave $1 to the truckers, you were also debanked. So Canada is far more authoritarian than the United States. In the United States, if you didn't like the vaccine mandate, you moved somewhere else. You moved to a red state that didn't have these vaccine mandates. You couldn't do that in China. You couldn't do that in Canada. You couldn't do that in Europe. So I think that America is really the best hope for the world. Unfortunately, the people in charge, even though they're not that strategic, even though they're not that smart, they are pretty evil. So we can imagine that they will promote false flag operations. They will promote civil wars in order to justify the use of a AI surveillance state.
And so you see our empire in decline. It might work for the next couple of years. And when you say Trump will get a third term, you mean they'll amend the Constitution to make that happen?
Right. So I actually don't know the legal technicalities here, but what I do understand is that there's actually nothing in the Constitution that prevents Trump from running as a vice president in 2028 and having his son, Don Jr., run at the top of the ticket. And then when they win in 2028 by rigging the election, then Don Jr. can just abdicate, and then Trump will be the president again for the next 8 years.
I never thought of that. Isn't that funny? I never thought that he would run as vice president. That seems so sinister. So you don't predict a collapse like by the end of the 2026 or 27 or even 28, but do you think that? So we're moving into a multipolar world then, right?
I mean, you can call it multipolar, but it's really a world in collapse. It's like a Bronze Age collapse where globalization breaks down, and you're gonna have like famines all around the world. You're gonna have wars.
Okay.
Is where our population is now about 8 billion people, but realistically, the Earth can sustain about 1 to 2 billion people. So we should see massive population decline over the next 10 years.
So you kind of froze there at the beginning of that answer. I hate to do this, but could you back up and start again?
Sure. So the world right now, it's over leveraged, it's overextended. We've mortgaged the future in order to enjoy the present. An example is that right now the population of the Earth is about 8 billion people, but that's being supported by fertilizers, by oil, by medicine. So if the world were to deglobalize and deurbanize, then people would lack access to fertilizers and cheap energy. And this would mean that we would see a steep population decline over the next 10 years.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've seen videos recently of, people from the Club of Rome talking about this decades ago, that
Yes.
we can only sustain maybe 1 or 2 billion people on this
That's
planet.
right.
And I just can't believe that, like, this. So how come this stuff doesn't get taught in schools? How come people don't talk about this in colleges? How come it's taking Donald Trump to make these kind of conversations come to the surface? Do you have any theory on that?
Well, I mean, public schools were created to brainwash you, to indoctrinate you. I know because I've worked in education reform for the past 20 years. So I know how screwed up the school system is. There's one word you're never allowed to say in education reform. I've been to a lot of education conferences around the world, and no one ever talks about the elephant in the room, which is the idea of a meritocracy. Why is it that you have a hierarchy in a school system where if you're smart, you're allowed to go to a good school, but if you're dumb, you're not allowed to go to school at all? And the reason is control. The reason is indoctrination. The people who graduate from the Ivy League, and I know because I went to Yale, are the biggest ass kissers in the world. They're not smarter than you. They're not better than you. They just happen to stick up to authority better than you. And that's just the nature of the school system that we have today.
That is true. I've noticed the people that came from Ivy League schools to Hollywood, and they excel quickly, and it's through ass kissing. They know exactly how to do it. They know exactly whose ass to kiss, and I've noticed it in my own little corner of Hollywood.
Sorry, Jimmy. If you spend like a week at Yale going to classes, you'd be shocked by the level of education at Yale and Harvard. You'd be like, oh my God, these are the smartest people in the world. Oh my God, this is the level of elite education that we have today. You'd be shocked.
Yeah. I mean, again, I always claimed that, I was a C student. I was, because I wasn't interested in school at all. And, but yeah, when I meet these people, I'm not as impressed as I should be. That's right. That's for sure. And, especially
but you know what I admire about you, Jimmy, is that even though you're a C student, you're still curious, you're open-minded, you appreciate debate, you ask good questions, and that's a secret to learning in life.
Let me just switch the subject just a little bit for a second. I'm still shocked. I'm constantly shocked. I'll never stop being shocked at the people who got everything wrong during COVID. Not only did they get it wrong, but they embraced authoritarianism to shut other people up like me, who were just asking questions because I noticed something, and I was asking relevant questions that they were afraid. So they're not afraid. They're afraid of the questions. And these people still today will call ivermectin horse paste, or they'll still swear by the vaccine. They'll still call people anti-vax, even though we know what a failure that COVID vaccine was. They still, like, as if it's 5 years ago. and these are, relatively intelligent people in every other way, and it's like they're going out of their way to stay ignorant. And have you noticed that? And what is?
Yes.
Go.
Yes. I went to Yale, so I encounter this all the time. But in the 1950s, C. Wright Mills wrote a book called The Power Elite, and he describes the structure of power in America. And he makes a very interesting point in the book, which is like, it's not the elite, the power elite, that are most dedicated to the system. It's the intellectual class, the chattering class, the professors, the intellectuals, the journalists who are most dedicated to the system, because these are the parasites of the system, and they understand that their power comes from the proximity to the elite, and so they are the most vocal about protecting the legitimacy of the system as well as the elite. Okay, so these journalists, these intellectuals, these professors, these academics, they're most dedicated to maintaining COVID because they believe that by doing so, that's what allows them to maintain their power. Because think about what AI could do. With the coming of AI, the people, these white-collar people are most at risk, right? These lawyers, these accountants, these teachers, because AI can just do what they do at a cheaper price. So they need to be able to justify their existence, their high salaries, their very easy lifestyle, where a professor works like 6 months of the year. And they do that by trying to impose authority on the common mass and saying, you see, we are useful because we can control the masses. But the reality is that with the rise of social media, with the rise of shows like yours, they can no longer do so. And that's why they're so desperate. That's why they're so anxious. And that's why they're so authoritarian today.
So it's, who was the stuff? Didn't we have, who was that female Chinese author who wrote that 40-page book? And she talked about this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with her.
Talked about the class, the
Yeah,
professional class.
She talked about the professional managerial class.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what you're talking about right now. And she and she noticed the exact same thing, right?
Exactly.
That they became and I like to call them, they're supposed to be
Catherine Liu.
Catherine Liu, that's who it was. And
yes.
And so, I call them illiberal. They talk about they're liberals, right? And they're supposed to be a liberal and conservative. There is no liberals anymore in the United States. They're all the people who consider themselves liberals don't realize that they become the most illiberal people in the world. And go ahead.
They're only interested in maintaining their privileges, right?
Yes.
Again, these are people who don't really work. They just spend all their time talking and projecting authority. And they have the easiest life. They're basically parasites, and so they need to maintain their existence. They need to legitimize their lifestyle.
Well, I'll tell you, speaking to this point, so I've gotten into Jungian psychology over the last 6 years, and it's completely changed my life and outlook on things completely. And I used to be an atheist, and now I understand that was incorrect. And what I've done, so I once a week I would talk to this Jungian psychiatrist or a psychologist, and he would help interpret my dreams. And because you need someone else to do that for you, and recently, and so I only would have an hour, and we'd only get through maybe 1 or 2 dreams. And I have lots of dreams. I have 3 or 4 dreams a night, right? And so it was, and I can't afford to do more than 1 session a week because they're expensive. They charge a lot of money. And so what I've started to do recently in the last few weeks is to use Grok, and I'll put in my dream. And as soon as I wake up, I put it in Grok and I say, please use Jungian analysis and tell me what this means. And then it is unbelievable. And it's on point. And then I'll instead of starting a different thread, I keep it in the, I go to do these dreams go together, and Grok is showing me how a dream from 2 weeks ago connects with the dream I had last night, and how all the ones and they connect all of and that is so much more conclusive, or I don't know, or encompassing than I get from my. So I'm experiencing this in my real life. Like, I don't know if I need my Jungian psychologist anymore because I'm getting this done when in way better time. I get more time with it anyway, and it's much more encompassing. And so would that be, that's what kind of what you're talking about and what Catherine was talking about, right?
Yes. I mean, like, we're seeing like the collapse of the elite intellectual class, right? So we look at the New York Times. Like, who reads New York Times nowadays, right? It's these boomers that read New York Times.
Bill Maher reads it.
So all they do is just appeal to the boomer class with these talking points of empire, and the rest of the population is turning off, right? So we're seeing a lot of desperation and anxiety among the intellectual elite.
Where do you see Israel ending up?
Right. So Israel, it has it's a crazy place, right? I mean, like, they don't mind going to war with the world because that's just part of their eschatology. They believe that if they go to war with the world, then the Messiah will come and lead them to victory. So Israel has descended into this fanatical religious outlook, and it's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse and worse. And we can see that Israel will eventually draw Turkey into this war. This will become a regional conflagration. But at the same time, as long as the United States supports Israel, then Israel will continue to dominate the Middle East. And if the United States were to lose this war, then CENTCOM would be incorporated into the Greater Israel Project. So I think that Israel will continue to rise.
Well, I really don't see, when you say if the United States were to lose this war, it's Iran is going to wipe out the Gulf states if the United States continues this war, which it looks like they're going to. So the Gulf states will be like, how do they not? I can see this. How can they not see this? And why aren't they taking steps to do anything about it?
Well, because if you're the UAE, you are in a very tough pickle, right? Because option one is that you want the United States to leave the Middle East, in which case Iran becomes a top dog, and now you have to pay reparations to Iran for the war because the Americans destroyed a lot of infrastructure. They killed the supreme leader, and the Iranians will want about $1 trillion in reparations, and they can't exact that from the United States because the United States is out an ocean away, but they can certainly demand that of the UAE, right? So that's option one. Option two is you fight this war to the bitter end because there's a chance that the United States defeats Iran, in which case you can continue to do what you do, which is to be like, this money laundering operation for the world. So those are your two options. And they're not great options, but option two has it's a better payout than option one.
Like I don't. Let's say I was the Saudi prince. My big idea. I mean, again, C student here, but I would get all the Gulf states together and form an alliance with China and Russia and Iran, and that wouldn't that be? And then, Europe would probably follow suit. See which way the wind is blowing. I don't know. Is that stupid of me to say those things?
Right. So the issue is that these Gulf states are a creation of empire.
Yeah.
Meaning that, 50, 60 years ago,
right,
these were not prosperous places. And because of the petrodollar, because America was willing to provide defense to the GCC, and because America was able to support the GCC economies, they prosper and they urbanize. So they're essentially vassals of America. If America were to leave the Middle East, then the people would probably rise up and overthrow the elite because they are corrupt, they are pretty evil people, and they're incompetent as well.
And and so I get it that even makes it make more sense for them to try to get rid of Israel, the United States, and create an alliance with the other two superpowers in the world, being China and Russia, and then of course, the strategic power, which is Iran. It just, again, I don't understand why the end of the road is obvious. Iran is going to wipe them out. They're going to be wiped out, right? Am I wrong about this? How do they get through the next year?
So there's a conspiracy theory that the Saudi royal family are crypto Jews. I'm not sure if you've come across this theory.
I haven't.
Right. So in 2003, the Americans went to Baghdad and they took control of the government, and they had access to all of the intelligence files of Saddam Hussein. And Saddam Hussein and his people were absolutely convinced that the Saudi royal family are crypto Jews. Okay, so let me explain what I mean by that. So the House of Saud came to power because of their alliance with the Wahhabi religious movement, and both are creation of the British Empire in order to destabilize the Ottoman Empire. And at this time in history, and this was like the 19th century, early 20th century, the British were working very closely with people called the Dome in the Ottoman Empire. The Dome are crypto Jews. These are followers of Sabtai Zevi, who declared himself the Jewish Messiah in 1666. And on the surface, they believe in Islam, but at home, secretly, they still practice their Jewish faith. And these are called the Dome. And these are the people who sponsor the Young Turk movement to overthrow the Ottoman Empire and establish the Republic of Turkey. So these are the people who run Turkey today. And a faction of them worked very closely with the British, and the British installed them throughout the Gulf states, including the UAE and including Saudi Arabia. So that's a conspiracy theory. Okay, I don't have any evidence, but that's what a lot of people believe happened, and that's why the UAE and Saudi Arabia are so close with Israel, and that's why they're so supportive of American empire.
I haven't. Why do they call them crypto Jews?
Because they are secretly Jews. They're not like they convert to Christianity or Catholicism or Islam on the surface, right? They on the surface, outside in public, they do everything that a Muslim or a Christian would do, but at home, among their private circle, they still practice the Kabbalah.
Oh. And so what do you make? I've asserted this many times on the show that the greatest trick the Zionists have pulled off was to get Christians to believe their number one enemy were Muslims, whereas the Muslim world actually venerates Jesus, the Mother Mary, as the opposite of what the Jewish culture does. And would you agree with that assessment?
I completely agree. So before the creation of the state of Israel, the Jews and the Muslims got along really, really well. In fact, the second largest Jewish population in the Middle East outside of Israel is actually in Iran, in Tehran.
Yeah.
Right? So the Muslims have made a point of welcoming Jews because they see Jews as a holy people along. And so in the year 1492, the Spaniards expelled the Jews from Spain. Right? And it was the Ottoman Turks, the Ottoman Empire, that sent ships to help the Jews move to the Ottoman Empire. So the Jews were expelled from Christian Europe and they moved to the Ottoman Empire, where they were welcomed with open arms.
Okay. So
and look, if you just look at these extreme Islamic movements, including ISIS, including the Wahhabis, they were clearly creations of the Anglo-American Empire.
Clearly.
Right? You look at ISIS. They never attacked Israel for whatever reason.
Clearly.
Right? They attacked everywhere else in the Middle East, but they never attacked Israel.
100%. I've been making that point for quite a while now. Yes, that, well, look who's the head of Syria right now, installed by Israel and the United States. It's the former chief head chopper of Al-Qaeda. And he's working hand in hand with Benjamin Netanyahu. In fact, he's publicly said he wants to be in partnership with it. It's just so obvious. And the people in America are such suckers. And that it's one thing to be suckered; it's another thing to keep being suckered. And So people, you weren't allowed. So again, the thing about when you're not allowed to question something, like you weren't allowed to question 9/11, and now I know that 9/11 was not what it seemed to be at all. It was not what it was. They needed a 9/11 so they could go and do what they're doing. And this was all part of the greater Israel project. What people don't realize is that, as you mentioned, there's a greater North America project, and it's got a technate state. And we've talked about this on this. So the only way to kind of save Western civil or the world right now is for the American people to wake up to this, right? And
Yes.
do you think they will, or what do you think? What does history tell us?
So the only hope for the world right now is the American people, because the people in charge, the elite, they've colonized so many different parts of the world. Like China is a colony of the elite, of the national elite. People don't recognize this, but China is very subservient to the global elite. Europe, Canada. So the best hope for the world is the American people recognize what's happening and they resist. And quite honestly, there's one movement in America right now that has the most promise, and that's MAGA, right? So if Tucker Carlson were to run for president of the United States and MAGA were to fully unify behind him, then I think there's hope for the world.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it MAGA, because the MAGA has been completely flipped on what it was when Donald Trump became president. It was made up of people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Dave Smith and even Joe Rogan and Theo Von, and that's all gone. Now it's all the people who were never MAGA are now what Donald Trump refers to as MAGA. So I would say the former iteration of MAGA, right, which Tucker Carlson could very easily lead, and he's very good at bringing people together now, which is crazy. And now, looking through looking backwards, you see how he was demonized only when he started to do the right thing. The establishment loved him. The left always hated him because divide and conquer is what the establishment does. But he got in trouble with his bosses when he started to see through it, and he saw through the empire, and he saw through the war machine, and you can't do that, and that's why he got kicked out of his establishment position. Do you think that's let's say Tucker Carlson ran for president, wouldn't they just kill him?
I'm most impressed with Tucker Carlson. And not only do I think his heart is in the right place, as you say, he's been the most consistent anti-war voice in mainstream American media for the longest time. And that's very brave of him. But I also think he has a very good read on the political winds in America. He's also like an American patriot. He loves America deeply in his heart. And so I think there are a lot of people in Washington, D.C. who secretly support him, right? I mean, like I don't think that everyone in Washington, D.C. is corrupt and willing to sell out. I think there are a lot of people in Washington, D.C. who are just hoping that a leader emerges that can represent the true America, who will restore America to its former greatness. And I would not be surprised if there are a lot of people in the deep state itself who are very supportive of a resurgent America under Tucker Carlson.
And so the more I look at things, the more I'm convinced that Donald Trump's assassination attempts were faked, and they were inside jobs, especially Butler, Pennsylvania. And the key piece of evidence is that Donald Trump is not interested in who actually tried to do that, the conspiracy behind it. It's just a lone nut who was able to somehow get through all. Why aren't they watching the roofs? Nobody's watching the roof at Butler, Pennsylvania, even though the crowd saw him. Same thing with Charlie Kirk. There's a roof. There's a guy on the roof for at least a couple of minutes with a rifle, and nobody in the security saw him. It's impossible, right? So I know. So I am convinced that Donald Trump was in on that Butler, Pennsylvania thing. And what do you think about it?
Well, it certainly helps us understand why there's a disparity between the first term and the second term, right? So in the first term, all of Washington was unified against Trump. They tried to sabotage him from day one, right, with this Russia gate hoax. The mainstream media was clearly against Trump. So when Trump ordered the American troops out of Syria, he was just ignored by the military.
Yes.
You had the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, call the Chinese and say, hey, don't listen to what this guy says. We're in charge. That's treason.
Yeah.
Right. And so in the first term, there were a lot of leaks. There were a lot of turnover. In the second term, you see a lot more discipline. You see Trump actually carrying out a plan. And so it's entirely possible that what happened was that at the end of his first term, the deep state, there were many political factions that tried to destroy Trump once and for all, right? So January 6th was clearly a stage operation by the FBI, in my opinion.
Clearly.
And then after he left office, there was the raid, the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago. There was lawfare. They tried to bankrupt him. They tried to put him in prison. They tried to remove him from the ballot box. And he was really in a lot of trouble. So at that point, he had no choice but to make a deal with the deep state saying that, look, Biden is useless. Putin's going to control the world if we continue to have Biden in the office, but Biden's not going to leave office voluntarily. So let's make a deal. We'll allow you to go back into office, but you have to promote our agenda, which is the American Empire agenda. And maybe Butler, Pennsylvania was a ritual in order to seal the deal, right? Because if you actually look at the specifics of the assassination, where Trump's ear was bleeding and he didn't have a shoe, that actually fits into a biblical description of a prophet or a Messiah, and it's in the Bible. I believe it's in Leviticus, right? So not only was it staged, but it was staged as a religious ritual in order to anoint Trump to be the avatar or basically the scapegoat for the deep state.
Same thing with Charlie Kirk's public assassination. They had to do it publicly, right? That was also some kind of ritual killing, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yes, yeah. There are a lot of ritual aspects to that assassination.
And where do these rituals come from? Can you speak to it?
So I don't know the specifics, but I imagine these are Freemasonic rituals that involve the Kabbalah. And they are all part of the Freemasonic mythology, right? So if you look at the JFK assassination, you look at the Charlie Kirk assassination, these are all come from a certain mythology in the Freemason world.
Yeah. Did you hear about so Candace Owens has been saying that the Charlie Kirk's assassination was a military operation, which it's clear that they were certainly involved, and the freak out over her discovering the Fort Huachuca connection was again proof of this. And then did you hear that? So there was maroon, lots of single individuals wearing maroon at the event with Charlie Kirk's assassination, and then that's the color of the French military. And then she's saying that there was a Masonic lodge made up of ex-French military that the French government just recently charged them as being an assassination ring. Did you hear about that? And this fits into that perfectly, right?
Yeah, so this would not surprise me. Also, we have to remember, this happened in Utah, which is where the Mormons are.
Yes.
The Mormons are a very important part of the deep state. So this is probably an operation that involved a lot of different deep state factions.
Yes, so coming together. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just the Mossad. Yes. It wasn't just the CIA. It wasn't just the French military. It was the the Mormons, that all those and all those people can get, and Donald Trump and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel are completely aware of this happening, and they know that if they try to go against it, they're going to end up like Charlie Kirk themselves, right?
Yes, and we know what happened after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, right? There's no longer any major opposition towards this war in Iran.
Right, he was the only one. I mean, he was certainly the most powerful one because he had a following, and he had all the conservatives under 30, so they had to get rid of him, and that's definitely what happened.
He would not compromise on this issue. He would not compromise on this issue. I mean, he went on it for a long time, right? Starting with with last year's 12-day war. I mean, he went to the White House and talked to Trump directly and said, you got to stop this.
And do you think that's when I think that's when the decision was made to get rid of him, and they tried one more time to bribe him in his meeting at the Hamptons, and he turned it down. And that was like the plan was already in progress to kill him. But they were like, well, let's try one more time. And it didn't work. He turned down their money. And, of course, his and in retrospect, his wife, Erica Kirk, it's obvious she was put in his life. She's their whole life. She's a 17-year-old beauty queen somehow working with trafficking in Romania. It's just none of it. And so, what I say is if the CIA had a vagina, she came out of it. And and everybody around him, from Tyler Bowden to Andrew Kovit, Mikey McCoy, his father, all those pastors, it's one big swamp, right? That's the swamp.
Well, that's what the Epstein files teaches us, right? I mean, these are extremely depraved people.
And what do you, by the way, what do you make of the journalists who had really great reputations up until the Epstein files, and now there seem to be, and it's like whether it's Epstein himself or whether it's is Epstein dead, or whether it's the files. You see people like Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi. What do you make of that? Like them trying to dismiss what everyone sees.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a huge fan of Matt Taibbi's for the longest time,
too.
right? Starting with the 2008 great financial crisis.
Yes.
He did amazing reporting in Rolling Stone, and I've been following his work for the past decade. I'm a huge admirer of his work, and I don't have any clue as to why he did what he did. There are theories that the IRS visited him, and that might have something to do with it. But usually in these cases, what happens is that you associate with a certain group of people.
Oh, son.
Associated with certain people?
Yeah. Okay, hold on. He'll come back. But while we're waiting for him,
You want to?
oh, here you froze for a second again. You said you first thing you do is you associate with a certain group of people.
Right. So you associate with a certain group of people. They become your friends. You spend weekends together. You go on cruises together. Your kids know each other, and you just want to stay in that circle, right? And staying in that circle just means you have to conform to the talking points.
And you think that's it?
That is a possibility.
Okay.
I think that you and I are able to do what we do because I imagine, I don't know about you, but we are marginal. We're very much marginalized in society.
Yeah, to say the least. Yes. Certainly on my part, very, very marginalized. And I got a good taste of it during Forced to Vote when I presented this idea that the whole left is supposed to be rallying around for decades, which they were. And then as soon as it became a possibility, they turned on me and they came at me as hard as possible and tried to discredit me, in every which way. They still do it to today. And not only that, but they got, useful idiots, people who I've known all my life to go along with it, when they got nothing out of it, right? Which is, except they just got brainwashed and they were, go ahead.
And you were completely vindicated on Forced to Vote. I mean,
100%.
you were absolutely right. Because Republicans did the same thing, right?
Say it again.
And it worked.
When the Republicans had McCarthy wanting to be speaker, they did exactly what we were advocating the squad to do for forced to vote, and it worked like a charm for them. They got everything they wanted.
Gates. Exactly. So it just shows you what a fraud AOC is.
Yeah, 100%. But I believe she'll probably be the nominee or the vice presidential nominee going in 2028. So there's no voting our way out of this. Well, I've known this now for a while, and you say that you think that the original MAGA coalition, the people like Tucker Carlson, the Candace Owens, if they can somehow find a way to organize and come together, but doesn't that involve, you need labor, right?
What do you mean by labor?
You need unions.
Right. Yes. But unions have been decimated in America, right? I mean, like, they're no longer as powerful as they used to be. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. Less than 10% of the workers are in unions, and most of them are government workers. But I said, like, if the railroads that we almost had a railroad strike here, and then Joe Biden and the Democrats interceded to make it illegal for them to go on strike. And if they would have won that strike immediately, and it would have empowered workers across the country, which is why they had to make it illegal. And so if you get, for instance, if you got the railroad workers to actually not go to work, that would cripple capitalism in America. If you got the port workers to do the same, if you got the people who work at the Amazon fulfillment centers, or if you got the UPS drivers, if you got even like one of them, but if you got them all together, that would be it. And that's how you have to take over the country. That's what I think. You have to stop capitalism. And that's how you gain power. It's kind of like go ahead.
Sorry. I didn't think of this before, but you convinced me. The key is labor, right? Because AI can replace actually the white collar class, teachers, professors, accountants, lawyers. They can be replaced actually pretty easily. But you need labor. You need essential workers. You need people actually do the real work. And we know this from COVID, right? Where during COVID, these people still had to work, but everyone else could just at home on their lap and just play on their laptops. So I mean, you're absolutely right. I think the key is to galvanize the labor movement.
And of course, they know how they've infiltrated the labor movement. So just like everything else is infiltrated, just like the Democratic Party, the Green Party, the Republican Party, the DSA, they're all infiltrated by the deep state and controlled, and it's all divide and conquer. And so just like the unions, so it's going to be very hard. But that's the only way we can say, and the template is there from the truckers, right? So the truckers did it on even a small scale, and it worked. If we could get the AFL-CIO, which is the truck drivers, just them to do it, or if you just get the railroad workers, or if you get them in conjunction with the port workers, that's it. Game over. We, the people, win. And of course, they'll try to do things like assassinations and again, more infiltrations, but that's to me that, because people like to say this, they say this a lot. You'll hear people say, oh, we need a general strike. Okay, that's a great idea. Stop saying that, right? Say something, specific and constructive. And what I'm saying, I think, is actually more specific and more constructive and actually something more likely to work. It's right. Go ahead.
Yeah, the caveat would be illegal immigration, right? So you ask yourself why the Democrats have let in, millions of illegal immigrants when Biden was in power. And it could be a possibility. I mean, like, I'm speculating, but it's just to dilute the power of labor,
of course,
in the future.
Of course. Yeah. No, there's 100%. And to keep the people from coming together to fight the oligarchs, what they do then is you have workers fighting people who are in a more desperate situation than them, and look at that, and the immigrants who we overthrew their governments in their country and made their life unlivable, who come here. So now we got the people at the bottom fighting instead of people at the bottom coming together and fighting the people at the top, and it works perfectly. It's working, still working. People are cheering on what ICE is doing across the country, and again, we need to have we need to have a strong border and all that stuff, but the demonization of if I've always said this, if you find yourself angry at someone lower on the economic ladder than you, it's a good chance you're being manipulated by someone higher on the economic ladder than you. It's obvious.
Yeah, and also we have to remember that ICE is also part of the technate plan, right? Because you want to create an AI surveillance state, so you need an enforcement mechanism, and that'd be ICE. So what's happening is that they're using illegal immigration in order to normalize ICE on the streets everywhere.
That's exact. And so, yeah, they don't need $80 billion to run an ICE, an immigration program. What they do is, if you want to create another authoritarian police state, and that's what you would do. And you're exactly right. And that's what the job of ICE there isn't really immigration. It's there to normalize this kind of authoritarian takeover of our life, this technate state. That's exactly what's happening. All right. This is always good to talk to you, but it's always so depressing. But it's good. You've got to see it first. You got to have the scales fall from your eyes, so then you know what to do about it. Does anything give you optimism, and what off ramps are there, do you see, for these worse outcomes?
So, people like you, people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, give me tremendous hope for the future, because you're still allowed to say what you believe. You speak from the heart. You have tremendous audiences. Your audiences love you. And you know this for yourself, but your voice is resonating all across America and the world. So that's what gives me hope. The other thing that gives me hope is that the people in charge aren't that smart. They're not that strategic. We shouldn't give them too much credit. They're going to make a lot of mistakes. They're going to miscalculate. They're too arrogant. They're going to create opportunities for other people. And the third thing I will say is that the elite themselves are not unified. If they were, they could just do what they want. There are different factions of the elite fighting amongst themselves. And so this creates opportunity for new political movements that could possibly galvanize labor, can galvanize 99%.
Okay. Professor Jiang, I really appreciate your insight. I appreciate you talking to me and talking to our audience. We can't get this kind of information from the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post, or MSNBC or Fox News. They can't get it. We have to come here, which is why they try to marginalize us and try to take our advertising away. And so I just really appreciate what's the reaction to you? Why does the Chinese government allow you to do this?
Okay, that's a great question. So I'm very much marginalized in China. Everyone thinks I'm an idiot in China. But because the response is just ignore someone if you don't agree with that person, right? The other thing is that I only speak in English to Western audiences. I don't have a Chinese online media presence. If I did, if I were influential in China, then the government would see me as a problem. So I avoid public appearances. I avoid online media presence. I don't talk to reporters in China.
Oh, okay. All right. So tell people where do you want people to find you? You have a YouTube channel now that is blowing up, right?
Yeah, right. So thanks, Jimmy, so much for platforming me. I really appreciate it. I love your show. I love what you do. I love to talk to you more often whenever time permits. Hopefully we can make this a monthly thing or something, because I just loved talking to you. It's like a kindred spirit. And I can say certain things on your show I couldn't say anywhere else because I'd be deplatformed. But if you want to follow my work, the best place is my YouTube channel, Predictive History, and my Substack, which is predictivehistory.substack.com.
Okay, fantastic. I feel the same way. I feel very kindred spirit, and hopefully we can share a meal and have a conversation in person when I come to China. I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. We'll stay in touch.
Okay, will do. Thanks again. All right, over to Steph.
Oh, hey, Jimmy. It's a great conversation. Way to go. Very interesting. And yeah, I would say that I'm depressed after a lot of this. And I think, the whole idea that the American public has to unite and the workforce has to unite so we can challenge the power structure that's depleting our money. Oh my God, it's too depressing. All right. 3, Rick, Wyatt Kerp, the kissing wall is laced with mind-controlled drugs. Oh, boy. Spencer Pratt was just on Rogan and is polling great. He's a huge animal welfare advocate. Looking forward to seeing you host Spencer Pratt on the show. Interesting. Spencer Pratt got access to Joe Rogan so soon.
Pratt?
He's on a reality show.
The reality star? What was it, that OC or something like that?
The Hills.
Okay.
Really? What a Math is awesome.
Joe Rogan had on Professor Jiang yet?
I don't think so. What a Math is awesome YouTube channel. I learned the 58 generations is all human clones can be cloned until they start falling apart. Unvaccinated guy. Kurt, what's that hat? I gotta know. Steve, he's not coming back. Sorry, Steve. DARPA invented the internet to make sure a message gets through no matter what. No censorship, messages used for new command and control. Total inversion. Oh, and that was from our friend Savage. Libs of TikTok was an op to anger conservatives about liberals, but you, Jimmy, are not allowed to expose the stupidity of Hitler Trump. Same BS script they ran in Germany 90 to 100 years ago. Trends to war. Brad Gilbert. Thank you, Brad. Much appreciated. If you had Israelis rebuilt the statue, they'd make it into an Arab child and then shoot it in the head. The Anticus. What happened to Judeo-Christian values? Pirate Justin. Pirate Justin's all over this today. I know, weird, right? We were talking about pirates before the show. Remember that woman that fixed the face of the Jesus painting some years ago? Have her restore the statue. Ryan, really good recommendation. Jimmy, you ready? Can I have a plain background, Jim? I despise Nazis in Israel. They are the one and the same. Notice Israel makes drones for Nazis in Ukraine. Mark me down as antiseptic. Know what I'm saying? Unvaccinated guy. Back to Mr. Jim.
All right, quick break to talk about something I've just started using. Rumble Wallet. If you've ever been curious about buying and investing in crypto, Bitcoin, stable coins, USAT, or even gold-backed stable coins, but felt like it was too complicated, Rumble Wallet is an easy way to get started. You can buy, sell, and manage your cryptocurrencies all in one place, and the app is super straightforward. What really makes Rumble Wallet unique is that you can use it to tip your favorite creators like me and support the Freedom First community we've built here on Rumble. Getting started is simple. Just download the Rumble Wallet app, sign up with your existing Rumble account. No need for a new login. Complete a few security steps and you're set up in minutes. You can start with just a few dollars, and with MoonPay built into Rumble Wallet, you can easily buy crypto using your credit card, debit card, or bank wire. So if you've been thinking about the advantages of crypto, download Rumble Wallet now. Click my link in the description or search Rumble Wallet in your app store. Download Rumble Wallet today and move your assets to where they belong, in your hands and in your control. Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. See terms at wallet.rumble.com. Okay. Hey, come see us doing live shows. May 7th in Burbank, California. That's a Thursday. May 16th, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Then we'll be in Oklahoma City, Spokane, Washington, and Tacoma. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Hey, when are we getting the link for the, you know what I'm asking? Why? They wait for 8 weeks? Why wouldn't they just give it to me? Okay. I want to start, because people make summer plans, you know? We're going to Governors in Levittown at the end of June, right? Yeah. It's like June 27th or something like that. We're doing 2 nights. Normally we only go in, we do 1. We're doing 2 this time, which makes me nervous, to be honest. But they talked me into it. Okay. But we're not gonna go to Rumble today because my back is killing me, so I got to go lay down. I'm having a medical problem. So no Rumble today, but Steph does have some more of your super chats to read, and let's get to them now.
This would be the time that I need a Negroni. I remember those times.
I quit.
Remember those times that I used to be able, at the end of the show, I'd get a Negroni, take a sip. Jimmy was cooking me dinner. Oh, the Negroni time. Back to you, Jimmy.
So I lost at least 15 pounds since I quit drinking. And, I quit drinking once before, and then I got back on it. And, but no, I'm so no pot and no drinking. All I do is nicotine. But,
we actually had some really good mocktails.
That's what I was just about to say. Okay. What I've started doing is, I go out to dinner with people who are sober, right? And they order mocktails. And I always used to look down my nose at those. And but now I tried one. We were out to dinner the other night, and I was like, this thing tastes fantastic, right? So I've been doing mocktails, and that kind of gets me through it, right? I'll do a mocktail. Did one last night, in fact. We went. Anyway, who cares?
How about
where
some shrooms?
Oh, you know what?
You know what? Lee Secca just said Jimmy needs some shrooms.
Lee Secca is correct. I'm gonna do. There's nothing. You don't gain weight, or it's not poison. I mean, I guess it is. No,
it's
maybe
natural.
Not. No, they're not. So no, I've never done DMT. And Steph just shakes her head at that. She's not ready for that. That's too much
I'll do a martini before I do DMT.
Yeah, well, me too, but
somebody just said, Danny says, what about crack?
Ha! I've heard good things. A lot of people to really help them turn their life around. Like, I never understood that when people would start doing crack or start doing heroin. Like, if there was a couple of success stories, I'd be like, yeah, all right, maybe I could do. But there's never a success story with heroin. Ray Charles is as close as you could come. Ray Charles did heroin for 20 years, but he eventually quit, right? But that's a story. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I'm pretty sure that's true.
Kurt has that bit. If you're gonna kill yourself, why don't you try heroin first?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
No.
Yeah, why not?
Have you tried, speaking of mocktails, Pentir Adrift?
No, I have never even heard of it. What is it?
It's a I don't know, not a real. It's not liquor, but they're using it in mocktails. I just ordered some.
Have you heard of this stuff called peptides? So this is the new thing. My friend was telling me about all these. It's the best thing for sleep. You take but then he said, yeah, you have to inject it. I'm like, no.
Oh,
no.
But then he found something like a pill that I could take. So I'm going to order that. I'm getting a headache. I got to quit. Okay, over to stuff.
Okay, big screen camera 4 while my team makes their way out of the room. And I'll keep reading, ladies and gentlemen. I'll keep reading. Let me refresh one thing over here. Jimmy, make your exit handsome. Go ahead. Go get in a comfortable space. Do the titles and tags with Misha and Malcolm. Call it a day. All right, let's see here. All right. No, Steve, you are not annoying. I know I'm annoying at this point, but seriously, this is the best conversation Jimmy's had in a while. Thanks to all involved. You got it, Stevie. All right, let's see what I got here. I'm confused. Are they pro-Homelander by knocking the Jesus statue down? Gaddis, thank you, Gaddis. I don't know. Here we go. Let's see here. Red Doctor, sorry I spit up. Love you guys. 7 sheets. You can show me again. You know, Jimmy's just hanging out here. The victim card has become a monster. Boy, hasn't it? Wow. So comedy is illegal in Florida? How very democratic of them. Right? Spike Spiegel. Well, you know, how many of our governors have already gone to the wall to kiss it? How many governors? Let's start with governors and move from there. Yikesy. Put me on the top of the list for being antiseptic and proud. If you're septic, may God have no mercy on your soulless energy. Unvaccinated guy. Thanks to everyone on the team for what you provide us all every week. Steve, thank you, Steve. Did a roof repair for an Israeli Mossad ex-agent who tracked down Olympic terrorists dispatch them? He wanted to know my opinion of Iran's situation, and I told him my views, and his mind boggled. I think he is satanic. Unvaccinated guy. Hold on, unvaccinated guy. Bam. Let's see this one. Good luck with your back, Jimmy. It's all behind you. Oh, boy. All righty. I'm happy to hear about your sobriety, Jimmy. Don't you think it's weird that the pro-weed movement uses Hitler's birthday, April 20th, to celebrate? Knowing our subversive adversary, this seems intentional. All right, let's see this one. Good luck with your back. I read that one. Spencer Pratt was on the reality show The Hills, but his house burned down for real in the Palisades. He's a supporter of the rights of the people affected and is running for mayor of L.A. Just want world peace. Thank you for that one. I've been a professional welder for the 38 years, specializing in energy, mostly nuclear. My son is an assistant manager of produce at a local supermarket. We're paid the same, $100K. Jimmy. All right. Thank you for that one. Let's move here. Okay. I think it's going to take me about 10 minutes, folks. 10 minutes to read these. Earth is not a globe, Kurt. Space is the psyop. Time to wake up, buddy. Click. What happened to Judeo-Christian values? Pirate Justin. I despise Nazi and Israel. They are one and the same. Notice Israel makes drones for Nazis in Ukraine. Mark me down as antiseptic. Know what I'm saying? Unvaccinated guy. I'm confused. Are they pro-Homelander by knocking the Jesus statue down? Gattis. I read that. Okay. Not a joke when you know Bobo Nitwit Yahoo would. Not a joke. When you know Bobo, Nitwit, Yahoo would. I don't know about that one. What's this one? Good luck with your back, Jimmy. Okay, right up. Thank you. America went from white supremacy to Jewish supremacy. E. Hoffs. Wow, Kerp, all this time I was waiting for you to organize a couple million people to not show up to work. Rorschach. Almost 2,000 years ago, Titus marched the 5th Legion to Judea, besieged Jerusalem, and destroyed the Second Temple. The world needs another Titus. Pirate Justin. The psychohistory gimmick. John Helmer is dismissive of academic and pseudoscientific frameworks like Jiang's reliance on Isaac Asimov's fictional concept of psychohistory as a marketing tool. Seamus. And I think, Seamus, that's who you were recommending Helmer a couple times. Professor Jiang Gang is here. Steve Bertram. Bonbons remind me of Katie Seagal in Married with Children. Steph could totally pull off that look, and Jimmy could be Al. Kerp can be Bud, and Misha can be Kelly. That's too funny. Octagon. Bonbon. This just in, Israel refused to prosecute or discipline the soldier for smashing Jesus. Instead, he was given a warning. That sounds like he was given a perk. All right. Spike Spiegel, he's not a real professor, retorted in regards to Professor Jiang is stupid. Of course he isn't a professor, and Dr. Phil isn't a real medical Jesus. Spike. John Helmer finds Jiang's broad brush analogies lazy. Unlike Helmer's focus on ship movements and bank records, Jiang relies on vague history rather than investigative data. Helmer prizes Seamus. Helmer hints Jiang predicts the obvious on U.S. decline while ignoring specific Russian and Iranian maneuvers. He views Jiang's work as lacking the primary sourcing essential to real analysis. Well, he's welcome to weigh in. There's plenty of room for everybody. There's plenty of room for everybody's point of view, and through that, we're engaged and we want to find the truth. So I appreciate the recommendation of Helmer. Maybe Helmer will be a guest. The U.S. is more like a Delian League than the Roman Empire. We are more of an economic empire. Our territory is vast like Rome, but it has a national identity. Rome provs maintain identity. Edward. 8,200 is hard in your live chat, Mitchell. They're hard. What does that mean? Come to Augusta, Georgia. Yes, we want you, Mitchell. 4-pillar strategy will fail because inflation and debt service costs. Unless cuts all budget except MIC, but then needs Palantir and Adderall for surveillance. Jimmy Dean. Is there anything funnier than dorks trying to convince us that not being a technical professor is a bad thing? Steve. We're not moving to a multipolar world. We're moving to a multi-tendril world. It'll all still be from the same centers of power. Vianticus. Overpopulation is complete and utter bullshit. Roddy. Jimmy, you're using Grok as a dream weaver. Dan. It's surreal in the best possible way to listen to this discussion. Legitimately my two favorite people, but so incredibly different from each other. Steve. I'd be interested in Jiang's take on China's trajectory based on his model of empire and the corrupting influence of bureaucracy on political idealists entering politics. And that is Rorschach. Thank you, Rorschach. Let's see here. Saw Jimmy and Steph perform last night. Had such a great time. Mediocrities. Thank you, Mediocrities. Boy, that club is swank. By 6th, 7th C, Jews lived in Hejaz and Yemen. Leaders adopted Judaism, but rule ended after Du Nuas massacred Narjan Christians. Jimmy Dean. I trained at Yale Divinity School. Professor Jiang is correct. 3 years at Yale, and I combined the thoughts of MLK and Gertrude Stein. I have been to the mountaintop, and there's no there. Thank you, Redmond Bolella. Justice for Tyler Robinson. I know I'm annoying at this point, but seriously, this is the best conversation Jimmy's had in a while. Thanks to all involved. Steve. I'd be interested. Oh, I read that one. It's surreal in the best possible way to listen to this discussion. Legitimately my two favorite people, but so incredibly different from each other. Steve. The looting is thoroughly bipartisan. No kidding, Franklin. And that's that. That's as many as I got to today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for weighing in. Let me see if this one. Okay, I got that point. Let me make sure nobody else sent somebody in there. One moment, please. Oh, let's see. This is from Brad. I heard Misha from the other room, so I ran back. That's too sweet. I'll let her know, Brad. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, what was this one? I read that one. Let's see if there's another one that came up. Where do all the single moose want to go for spring break? To the Strait of Hormuz. Thank you, Rumbling. Thank you for that one. That's fun. It's lighthearted in the midst of all this tragedy around us. Remember, resist much, obey little. But come back on Wednesday when we return. Adios.